Chapter 1918. The audience held their breaths. Everyone present was a fan of the original novel of The Green Apple. They were fans of the coupling of Xianxia and Unforgettable. They liked both Xianxia and Unforgettable. Surprisingly, most of Unforgettable's fans were female. After all, girls liked beautiful things, and they yearned for Unforgettable's natural beauty. Hence, when Unforgettable removed her makeup bit by bit, everyone held their breaths. The audience was afraid to appear in front of the public camera. She had always been a delicate and refined beauty like a goddess. Once she removed her makeup, she would look like a scene of a car accident. This would shatter everyone's fantasies. Some people thought that Unforgettable's bare face wouldn't be too beautiful, but it wouldn't be to the point of being unbearable to look at. She could only be considered as a passerby. After all, her foundation was still there. However, just as Xianxia removed her makeup and lifted her head to face the audience with a smile, the audience let out an exaggerated gasp of surprise. Oh my God! It wasn't an exaggeration to say that she looked exactly the same as when she put on light makeup. Especially those eyes. What thick eyelashes, those bright eyes, and when she narrowed her eyes and smiled, they were as charming as silk. They were as enchanting as water. She had a perky nose and soft cherry blossom lips. What was even more shocking was that her skin was fair and translucent. Her skin was like the finest jade that could be broken with a flick of a finger. The host was also very surprised. When the program team had asked Xianxia if he could fulfill the promise that Unforgettable had made at the premiere and show her bare face to the audience, Xianxia had gladly agreed. The host had even joked about it. Which female celebrity would be willing to show her bare face on a program? Even if she wanted to show her bare face, she would just remove her eyeliner and eyelashes. She wouldn't even remove her foundation makeup. However, Xianxia had said, use the strongest makeup remover. It doesn't matter if she removes it completely. One of the female hosts couldn't help but mutter in her heart, oh my God, this Unforgettable is taking things too hard. Can't she just pretend to remove her makeup? Why did they have to be so exaggerated? Nowadays, which female celebrity could truly withstand the test of removing makeup? The most important step of makeup was the foundation to even out the skin tone. Many female celebrities had to stay up late to memorize scripts and rush to film, so their endocrine imbalance caused their skin tone to darken. There were also many spots, so they couldn't do without foundation. However, when Unforgettable showed her bare face, this female host was the first to stand up and question her. You didn't remove it completely, did you? She held the microphone and asked in an exaggerated manner. The male host at the side frowned. This female host was the pillar of the TV station. She could be said to be a gold medal host, but she had already become famous due to her pair of huge breasts. In terms of hosting skills, it was obvious that she was just passable. She stood up and questioned, causing another senior male host to frown in dissatisfaction. If Unforgettable didn't clear her doubts, then it would seem that Unforgettable was hypocritical and pretentious. She was obviously trying to stir up trouble. If this continued, he was afraid that Unforgettable wouldn't be able to get out of the limelight. The program team invited celebrities to do the program for a win-win partnership. The celebrities used the program team to promote their own movies, and the program team used the celebrities to increase the ratings. Therefore, the program team rarely made embarrassing requests of the celebrities in public. Chapter 1919. That female host pretended to exaggerate and shook her head. I don't believe it, can I touch it? Aya, let me do such a good thing. That male host rushed forward to give it a try before the female host could. The audience let out a kind laugh. Unforgettable said shyly, let her do it? I think Sister Xing doesn't believe that I removed it cleanly. I indeed don't believe it because there's no difference between your bare face and when you're wearing light makeup. Saying so, she turned around and explained to the audience, we need to know that there are very few girls who have such perfect skin. So, for the fairness of the program, we have the right to question whether the makeup was removed cleanly, right? The audience cheered. Yes. Then let's invite an audience member to come up and try it with me, okay? Many audience members enthusiastically raised their hands. Unforgettable felt that she had been tricked, but she didn't feel guilty at all. After all, she had made sure that her makeup was removed cleanly and was very confident in herself. The female host walked down the stage, swept a glance, and casually pointed to a girl with exquisite makeup. When the audience member went up on stage, she asked, Beauty, may I know what your occupation is? I'm a makeup artist. Then you must be very experienced. The female host smiled. The male host could only follow and finish this segment. A makeup artist is quite professional. Then please take a look and see if our Xiaxia's makeup is removed cleanly. Okay. The audience member walked to Xiaxia's side and leaned closer to take a look. Then, she carefully touched it with her hand and a trace of surprise flashed past her eyes. How is it? Xiaxia smiled sweetly and looked at her. The audience was shocked for a while and then nodded in a daze. It's removed cleanly. Really? The female host still didn't believe it. She walked up and specially touched it before dispelling the suspicion in her heart. It was a real bare face. She was taken aback. Although she felt indignant, she still had to announce, our Xiaxia has really removed all her makeup. Xiaxia smiled. Because I removed it twice, it's definitely clean. Since he made a promise to the audience, he will definitely fulfill it. The male host immediately said, a real goddess can withstand the test of makeup remover. No wonder our Xiaxia dared to say such bold words at the premiere. She's obviously very confident in her bare face. I'm so jealous. The female host looked extremely envious. Tell me, what skincare products do you use? Does this count as advertising? I haven't signed the contract yet, so I can't tell you. It's a secret. Xiaxia joked. Her humor made everyone in the audience laugh. Then secretly reveal it to me. I'm so envious of your skin. I feel that you look more natural and beautiful without makeup. Actually, when it comes to skincare, I don't buy a lot of bottles and jars like other girls. I pay more attention to nourishing my body from the inside out, so I rarely use any skincare products. Usually, I pay attention to nourishing my body. Because actors often stay up late. Staying up late is the #1 killer for women. Chapter 19:20. So you have to pay attention to your health. Replenishing your blood is the most important thing. Secondly, you have to pay more attention to your sleep. When I'm not filming, I go to bed very early. Thirdly, you have to pay attention to your hydration. Of course, I'm not asking you to buy hydration products. I brew my tea with wolfberries and longans to replenish water from the inside out. Coupled with the combination of work and rest, it can maintain the youthful state of your skin. Actually, there's another very important point. You're born with it. Ha ha ha. The recording of the show was very successful. The viewership ratings that night increased by 2 percentage points. Compared to the previous viewership ratings, it was a huge breakthrough and became the viewership champion of all variety shows. After the show ended, Xiaxia barefaced, and True Goddess Xiaxia barefaced, quickly occupied the top search rankings. Many netizens expressed their envy after seeing Xiaxia's barefaced face. Most of the female netizens, while marveling at Xiaxia's barefaced face, went to her Weibo to follow her and leave comments, asking for tips on maintaining her skin. What was even more shocking was that after this episode, many cosmetics and skincare brands extended an olive branch to her. Qin Zhou successfully signed a few more cosmetics contracts. Of course, this was all in the future. At the same time, The Green Apple was still firmly at the top of the box office rankings. Although it had declined from the initial trend, it continued to grow steadily and slowly. Except for an American blockbuster that was released on New Year's Day, it was easily overtaken by The Green Apple again. The economic benefits it brought were immeasurable. The popularity of the movie caused Xiaxia's social status to soar. Although there was a lot of competition in the entertainment industry, only the newcomers were happy and the old ones were not. However, Xiaxia's explosive popularity was still a rare phenomenon. That night, The Green Apple was only a few $1 million away from breaking the Chinese box office record. It was only a step away. Lu Jinyu booked a private room at the bar for a gathering. When Mu Yaja arrived with Xiaxia, the group of brothers was already there. Boss, sister-in-law. Everyone stood up and greeted him respectfully. Xiaxia smiled and said, "Don't be so polite. Just call me Xiaxia." Her sister-in-law felt awkward when she heard that. That won't do. Xiaxia is our boss's nickname. We don't dare to overstep our boundaries. Zhang Shen said half jokingly and half seriously. However, Lu Jinyu said, "Actually, I also want Xiaxia. It sounds nice and intimate." Mu Yaja glared at him coldly. Lu Jinyu shuddered. Jiang Shen jeered from the side. See, I told you. Jinyu, did you see the boss's eyes? Why don't you obediently call her sister-in-law? Yun Shesher glared at Mu Yaja. Hey, what are you doing? Jiang Shen clicked his tongue and teased. Sister-in-law, can't you tell? Boss is a wife-protecting maniac. If you call him that, boss will get jealous. Yun Shesher was speechless. I can't tell. Boss is usually so aloof, but when it comes to sister-in-law, he turns into a jealous lover. Boss is not aloof, he's coquettish. On the surface, he's ascetic, but deep down, he's really coquettish. Mu Yaja gave them a cold look as a warning. Chapter 1921. Everyone laughed and sat down to have a good time. Mu Yaja did not like crowded events, but since it was a gathering organized by Lu Jinyu, he was very willing to attend. Besides, he wanted Yun Shesher to get to know his buddies better. They were all reliable friends, and he also hoped that she would be able to integrate into his circle. Yun Shesher was naturally willing to do so. However, she was not a good drinker, so she used tea instead of alcohol. These guys knew how to read her mood, so they did not force her to drink. Halfway through, when Yun Shesher went to the bathroom, Jiangxin suddenly said to Mu Yaja, Boss, have you received the invitation to the film festival this time? Yes. Are you going? I'm thinking about it. In the past, whenever there was a film festival in the country, the organizers would send Mu Yaja an invitation. As the big boss behind Huan Yu, Mu Yaja's status was very important. If he could participate, it would definitely add to the glory of the film festival. However, Mu Yaja did not care about most of these invitations. Firstly, it was because he was not interested. Secondly, it was because he did not have the time. However, this film festival was different. All the main cast members of The Green Apple would participate. Moreover, as a nominee for various major awards, The Green Apple had a strong momentum this time. They had the ambition to win all the awards. In addition to aiming for the Best Actor, Best Film, Best Adaptation, Best Newcomer, and Best Actress awards, these were also the most exciting segments. Regarding the nominations for this film festival, Lin Fengtian was very ambitious. He hoped that Yun Shesher could win the Best Actress award. In fact, in terms of ability, Yun Shesher should win the Best Actress award. This year's film market was in a foul state. Many movies were crudely made. Among all the movies, The Green Apple could be said to be a dark horse. Yun Shesher's acting skills were even better than those of the other A-list actresses. Therefore, Lin Fengtian had high hopes for Yun Shesher. However, there were many benefits involved. The selection of awards no longer had much to do with one's ability. First, it looked at one's background. Second, it looked at one's popularity. The film festival would release the voting online half a month in advance, and the 5 with the highest number of votes would be selected. Now that the voting was coming to an end, Yun Shesher had the highest number of votes and was in the lead, so she was nominated. The audience's eyes were bright. Yun Shesher's performance was indeed very eye-catching. Although it was only one work, her ability was right in front of them. No one could deny it. If Yun Shesher could win the Best Actress award, it would be beyond reproach. Of course, being popular was one thing. There were many shady dealings in the film festival, and there was no lack of judges manipulating and tampering with the name list. Moreover, Yun Shesher was a newcomer who had just debuted. Although she had achieved great results with just one movie, many people would shrink back and not dare to hope for her to win the title of Best Actress with just one movie. However, if there was Mu Yaja behind the scenes, it would be different. With Mu Yaja's status, becoming a Best Actress was just a matter of a word. Chapter 1922. Lu Jinyu nodded and said, That's true. There's also a veteran actress who's been nominated for 8 years. Her performance is commendable, but she hasn't won the Best Actress award. There's a lot of news that she's going to win the Best Actress award this time. Jiang Shen frowned and asked, Are you talking about Chen Han? Yes, that's her. Jiang Shen shook his head and sighed. Then it's going to be difficult for sister-in-law this time. If Chen Han is going to win the Best Actress award, sister-in-law will at most win the Best Newcomer award this time. But the Best Newcomer award is not bad either. It's like a layer of gold plating. Lu Jinyu rolled his eyes speechlessly. Are you stupid? If Boss makes an appearance, the Best Newcomer award and Best Actress award will be taken away. I don't care about that. Then what are you worried about? What I care about is whether boss will attend the film festival this time. Xianxia laughed and said, Why do you care about that? What does it have to do with you whether boss attends or not? Because as an investor of the film festival, I've received an invitation too. If boss doesn't attend, then I'll ask sister-in-law to walk the red carpet with me. I happen to be lacking a female companion. As soon as he said that, Jianghu laughed and said, Don't even think about it. Sister-in-law might not agree. Sister-in-law is understanding and gentle. She definitely won't reject me. Dream on. Wuxia spat out. Lu Jinyu smiled and said, I heard that sister-in-law doesn't have a male companion. She can't walk the red carpet alone, right? She'll be laughed at. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? Wuxia sneered. You've invested in the film festival. If I attend, then you can use this as a bargaining chip to raise the price of the title sponsorship and advertising. In the end, you'll be the one who reaps the benefits, won't you? Lu Jinyu's little ambition was exposed, but he wasn't ashamed. Instead, he laughed and said, So boss, you should attend the film festival. If you attend the film festival, the media will have to add more than 100 seats. You rarely appear in front of the public. It's not a bad idea to accompany sister-in-law on the red carpet this time. It's not impossible for me to attend. Boss, since you said so, it seems like you have a condition. Jiangxia laughed. Boss, what is it? As my female companion, wouldn't it be embarrassing if she walked the red carpet at the film festival and didn't win a single award? Wuxia gave a start and left the rest for Lu Jinyu to figure out. Jiangxia nodded in agreement. That's right. You have to win the Best Newcomer Award and the Best Actor Award, right? All right. Boss, don't worry and leave this matter to me. I'll talk to the organizers. No need. Xianxia's calm voice came from behind. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice, but they didn't know when Xianxia came back from the bathroom. She happened to hear them secretly discussing the award, and her expression became slightly pale. Xianxia sat down beside Wuxia and said slowly, Let nature take its course when it comes to awards. If there's one, there's one. If there's none, there's no need to force it. You don't have to do anything behind the scenes. Even if I take it, I might not be happy. I still want to rely on my strength to obtain the prize that belongs to me under fair conditions. Chapter 1923. Xianxia smiled sweetly and replied, Wouldn't it be more fulfilling to bring down the shady dealings behind the scenes? If I had known from the start that I was going to win the award, I wouldn't have been so surprised. Lu Jinyu shook his head and teased, Sister-in-law, don't say such nice things now. If you lose the award because of shady dealings, I'm afraid you'll cry in boss's arms. Who's crying? Xianxia retorted stubbornly. At most, I'll be disappointed for a while. I'm not that weak. Besides, I feel that I'm still lacking in maturity and capability. Even if I don't win the award, I won't feel disappointed. Anyway, I have to adjust my mentality. After a pause, she continued, Besides, I don't have much hope for the award. The most important thing is to participate in it. This is my first time attending a film festival. The most important thing is to see more of the big scenes. She didn't have much hope in the first place. She had only acted in one movie. It was already the biggest surprise that the box office sales were so high. What else could she expect from an award? If she could become the Best Actress award with just one movie, wouldn't all the veteran actors and A-list actresses who had acted in so many movies be crying beside the toilet if they didn't even get a single nomination? If she walked the red carpet and won the Best Actress award in a daze, that would be considered shady dealings. To be honest, the competition for this year's film festival was very fierce. Chen Han, the veteran actor, had sold the overseas copyright for a sky-high price for a literary film that was released in North America this year. Although the box office sales were mediocre, the film's reputation was through the roof. Her performance in the film was also very stunning. Moreover, the film had been in theaters for a long time. After several rounds of accumulation, it was much more popular than her. Besides, although she shot to fame overnight, she didn't have a strong fan base. Her short accumulation of fans couldn't compare to those A-list actresses. She didn't have much competition at all. Thinking about it this way, she actually felt relieved. She was already very satisfied to be able to win the Best Newcomer award. She still hoped that she could fight steadily and steadily. There was no need for her to soar to the top. If there were too many ups and downs, she wouldn't be able to get used to it. She was participating in the film festival because it was her first time. Hence, she was very nervous. Lu Jinyu smiled and said, "What's so great about a local film festival? If you want to see a big scene, ask boss to send you to the Oscars Film Festival. That's called Starlight Shining. It's not a festival that just any celebrity in the country can be invited to." Really? To be invited to the Oscars Film Festival, regardless of whether one's work was nominated or not, just walking on the star-studded red carpet was already the highest praise for a domestic artist. This was like studying hard for 12 years and studying abroad. It was equivalent to being plated with a layer of gold. It wasn't that they worshipped foreigners, but that the Oslo Film Festival was the most prestigious film festival in the world. It had a wide influence and the highest standards of film festivals. If any artist in the country could be nominated, it would be a joyous thing. Female celebrities were all racking their brains to walk the red carpet at the Oscars Film Festival. If he brought it back, he would be able to write articles for a year. Of course, there were also female celebrities who spent a lot of money to buy tickets. Although they spent a lot of money, it was worth it since they could increase their fame. Chapter 1924. Wuxia, can you take me there? I've always wanted to go to the Oscars Film Festival. If I can see my idol in person, I'll have no regrets in life. Your idol? Yeah. Lu Jinyu's interest was piqued. Sister-in-law has an idol? Who is it? Leonardo. Jiang Shen's lips twitched. Little Li? Little Li was Leonardo's nickname, and it was also the nickname his fans gave him. Once upon a time, Leonardo's incomparably handsome face had captivated countless fans. However, ever since he decided to pursue the path of strength, his looks had deteriorated year by year. In recent years, his looks had even fallen below the freezing point. However, Xianxia still regarded him as her idol. Even though he was not as good-looking as before. Xianxia defended her idol and retorted, "What, Little Li? He's my idol." Jiang Shen said mercilessly, "It's a pity that your idol is old. He has a potbelly and stubble. He's no longer as handsome as he used to be." What a joke. How dare he praise another man in front of sister-in-law? Who knows how boss will make things difficult for him later? He was a person who knew how to judge the situation and observe the situation. When sister-in-law mentioned that her idol was Leonardo, boss's expression was already very strange. Jiang Shen did not forget to flatter him. "My idol is boss. He's handsome and rich. He's a diamond-level idol." Lu Jinyu was disgusted by Jiang Shen. "Please don't disgust me. I feel like vomiting." "What? Are you openly questioning boss's charm?" Jiang Shen tried to sow discord between them. "No, he's questioning your flattery skills," Xianxia said quietly. Lu Jinyu gave her a thumbs up. Wuxia's lips curled into a smirk. He, who was usually silent, picked up his wine glass and took a sip of red wine. Xianxia suddenly held his arm. "By the way, will you attend the film festival?" "Huh? Didn't I ask you before? Will you go to the film festival?" Wuxia pretended to be mysterious and did not give her a clear answer. Instead, he asked slowly, "Do you want me to go? Just because I want you to go?" Xianxia smiled. "If you go, you can be my date. I'll hold your arm and walk the red carpet together." Jiang Shen coughed from the side and said, "Sister-in-law, you should be more reserved. Which girl invites a man to be her date? What's the big deal? He's a block of wood. If we wait for him to open his mouth, won't we have to wait till the end of time?" Xianxia did not mind being reserved though. She actually hoped that Wuxia would go. It was the first red carpet in her life. She hoped that she could walk down the red carpet with him and accept the baptism of the spotlight. It must be memorable. More importantly, other than Wuxia, she could not think of anyone else to be her male companion. Firstly, she didn't want to walk the red carpet with a stranger of the opposite sex. Secondly, even if she was willing, Wuxia wouldn't agree and would be angry. He might even ban the male star if he was unhappy. Actually, she had wanted to hold Lin Fengtian's arm and walk the red carpet. However, when Xianxia brought this up, Lin Fengtian was shocked and retreated. "I don't dare to be your date. If I walk the red carpet with you today, I might be banned tomorrow." Chapter 1925. Mu Yaja's smile deepened. However, he still pretended to be reserved. Hence, he said arrogantly, since you want to walk the red carpet with me so much, I'll cancel my schedule to accompany you. These words were truly high-sounding and dignified. In fact, Mu Yaja had already planned to walk the red carpet with her on the day of the film festival. Hence, he had cancelled all his schedule for that day in advance. However, he couldn't make it too obvious in front of his subordinates. Hence, he pretended to be cold and aloof, as if he didn't care. In fact, he cared a lot about it. Xianxia glanced at him in exasperation. Seeing his cold and indifferent attitude, she suddenly snorted. Oh dear! Why are you so reluctant to do this? Actually, you don't have to make things difficult for yourself. If you don't want to, I can walk the red carpet with Jianghu. As she spoke, Xianxia glanced at Lu Jianghu and threw him a long olive branch. Lu Jianghu felt awkward and didn't know if he should agree. Mu Yaja's expression changed immediately. He said blankly, No. Why not? Didn't you say that you wanted to walk the red carpet with me? Why did you change your mind at the last minute? Mu Yaja said unhappily. There was a collective silence. Boss, you're too reserved. Sister-in-law is just trying to provoke you. Sure enough, even though Boss was usually very smart, a man who had fallen in love would have an IQ that was almost negative. Can't Boss see that sister-in-law is trying to provoke him? Xianxia glared at him. I see that you're reluctant. I don't like to force people to do things they don't want to do. If you don't want to walk the red carpet with me, you don't have to force yourself. Mu Yaja was speechless and didn't know what to say. Jiang Shen was secretly happy. Is Boss being too reserved and being despised by sister-in-law? He looked at Mu Yaja's defeated expression. He had never seen Boss so sullen. Jiang Shen was secretly pleased. Actually, it doesn't seem good to walk with you. Look, I just debuted, and there are already many people who are gossiping about who my backer is. Whenever I act in a movie, there will always be a lot of ridiculous conspiracy theories. If I walk the red carpet with you, then they'll definitely report that you're my sponsor and that you use the unspoken rules to get me to this position. Xianxia's words were clear and logical. Mu Yaja, who was standing at the side, suddenly added, Is there anything wrong with that? Ha! Xianxia stared at him with wide eyes. Who else is behind you other than me? Mu Yaja narrowed his eyes and replied confidently, It's the truth. Xianxia fell silent. Hey, do you have to be like this? What do you mean by unspoken rules? Mu Yaja said seriously, It's only right and proper for a husband to spend resources on his wife. Humph. That's not it. I acted in Director Lin's movie based on my own ability. What does it have to do with you? Xianxia said stubbornly. Jiang Shen reminded her, Sister-in-law, you did rely on your own ability to become Phoenix Girl. However, the movie was able to achieve such a high box office because of Boss. Ha! What do you mean? Chapter 1926. Xianxia was puzzled and asked, What do you mean? Jiang Shen downed the remaining dry red wine in his glass in one gulp, then said casually, Actually, Huanyu has a lot of cinemas under its banner. In addition to the department stores that Dishing invests in, the reason why Huanyu can become half of the entertainment industry is because Huanyu constantly controls 80% of the media's influence and 60% of the cinema's shares. On the first day of the screening of The Green Apple, the Mu Group sent out a secret document early in the morning. CEO Mu said casually, The Green Apple must break the box office record for Chinese films. As employees, we worked hard. If it weren't for the Mu Group's large-scale increase in the screening times and promotion of The Green Apple, the movie might not have achieved such great results. Sister-in-law, strictly speaking, this is also one of the unspoken rules. After listening to Jiang Shen's serious explanation, Xianxia was dumbfounded. For a moment, her heart was filled with complicated feelings that she couldn't put into words. There was happiness, sweetness, disappointment, and a tinge of sadness. She had originally thought that The Green Apple had achieved such results because of her own capabilities. However, it seemed that it wasn't as simple as she thought. Lu Jianghu glanced at Xianxia's expression and quickly understood why she was disappointed. Hence, he said helplessly, Sister-in-law, don't overthink it. Although what Jiang Shen said was true, the movie was able to achieve such results because of its ability. Although the cinemas have increased the screening times, We didn't kidnap the audience and bring them to the cinemas. Hence, this shows that this movie is really charming. That's why it didn't disappoint and became the box office champion. It's been more than 10 days since the screening. It should be breaking the box office record soon, right? Jianghu said excitedly. Yes, it should be soon. The box office of a Chinese film was 2.9 billion yuan. Currently, the box office of The Green Apple was 2.89 billion yuan. It was only a few million yuan away. Hence, it wouldn't be a problem for The Green Apple to become the Chinese box office champion overnight. Xianxia fell silent. She looked at Wuxia in disdain. This man. No wonder there were always those gossips saying that she had a strong debut momentum. She must have a sugar daddy or a very strong backer behind her. This made her feel even more indignant. She had put in so much effort in order to produce the best work. No matter how hard and tiring it was, she had no complaints. But in the end, it was like this. She had clearly put in a lot of effort, but a simple sentence, "She must have a sugar daddy behind her," easily erased all her efforts. It turned out that this man had been adding fuel to the fire behind the scenes. Xianxia recalled the past. No wonder her resources had always been top-notch. It was all up to him. Xianxia didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It seemed that she would never be able to wash away the rumors of her being involved in the unspoken rules. That was because she had really been pushed to the top. However, her husband was the one who had pushed her to the top. This was something that no one had expected. She was flattered so much that she felt at ease. Hee. You have to walk the red carpet with me. Wuxia spoke from the side. His attitude was firm and unquestionable. Xianxia frowned. Why? There's no why. Chapter 1927. Lu Jinyu suddenly said, "Actually, sister-in-law, if you walk the red carpet with boss, there won't be any rumors. You don't know this, but the media has been tamed by the Mu Group. In the past, when boss had just debuted, those entertainment reporters were like flies, squatting outside his hotel in large groups. After that, they were taught a lesson by boss. Basically, no one dared to report about him anymore. If they dare to use boss to create hype, they'll basically be banned. So, you should walk the red carpet with boss. It's easy. It doesn't matter who I walk with. The point is, he's really an awkward person. I just asked him to walk the red carpet with me, but he said that he was reluctant. I was being kind and told him to change to someone else, but he insisted that I walk the red carpet with him. Humph. He's so hard to please, Xianxia said awkwardly. The main point of her words was that Wuxia was an awkward and arrogant person. The problem was, a certain man's face darkened when he heard her first sentence. It doesn't matter who you walk with? He asked sinisterly, who else do you want to walk the red carpet with? He swore. No matter who she said, regardless of gender, he would ban them. Just like how he banned Xianxia. He meant what he said. Xianxia was stunned and suddenly felt a little angry. This man is so awkward. Why can't he be a gentleman? Look at Xiaoyichen and Yu. Both of his sons know how to be gentlemanly to women. Why is he so overbearing when it comes to women? That's enough. No objections. It's decided about the film festival. Seeing Xianxia's disdainful expression, Wuxia was furious. He simply did not want to hear any objections from her and made the decision domineeringly. Xianxia wanted to say something but stopped. She raised her eyebrows and could not be bothered to object. Anyway, she had already decided to walk the red carpet with him. However, his attitude did not seem to be right. However, she had no choice. Anyway, he was a blockhead and would not understand what she was unhappy about. Lu Jinyu suddenly grinned and said, "Boss, do you think I should buy a judge's seat to play with?" Jinyu, you don't know where to spend your money, do you? Why are you buying a judge's seat? I'm holding a trophy for my sister-in-law. The judges have the right to operate under the table. I'll buy a judge's seat and award the best actress to sister-in-law. Xianxia was amused by him. Jianghu ridiculed, how can it be that simple? Behind this trophy, there are many benefits involved. Don't play with fire and burn yourself. I was joking. But seriously, sister-in-law, you might not get the Best Actor award this year. Don't be disappointed if you don't win. Lu Jinyu comforted her again. Xianxia smiled and said helplessly, Jianghu, that's enough. I'm not that fragile. It's just a trophy. I'm not that weak. Oh, what a coincidence. A familiar voice came from not far away. Everyone turned around and saw Lin Fengtian and Qin Zhou walking over together. Behind them was someone Xianxia could not be more familiar with. It was Hua Jin. Hua Jin did not expect to see her here. This bar was famous. Every time it was this time, many people in the industry would gather here. It could be said to be the Hall of Fame of the bar. Qin Zhou and Lin Fengtian were regulars here. Chapter 1928. Needless to say, Hua Jin was even more familiar. Before he debuted, he had been hanging out in this bar all year round. Many of the senior guests knew him. However, when Hua Jin saw Wuxia holding Xianxia in his arms, his eyes flickered for a moment. Then, the corners of his lips curled up coldly. No matter how stupid a person was, it was not difficult to guess how close the two of them were when they saw them snuggling up to each other intimately. Moreover, his eyes were sharp. He immediately saw the engagement ring on Wuxia's finger. It was a pair of rings on Xianxia's finger. Could it be that this man was her fiancé? When Hua Jin thought of this, he felt a stab in his heart. He was a little envious. Qin Zhou laughed as he walked over and hooked his arm around him. I didn't expect to meet our big boss here. What a coincidence. Big boss? Hua Jin carefully asked Lin Fengtian. This is Huan Yu's behind-the-scenes boss, Wuxia. Don't you know him? Hua Jin was stunned. He shook his head and answered honestly, I've only heard of this name, but I've never seen him before. I'm warning you. If you interact with this person, you must be careful with your words and actions. Do you understand? Don't speak without thinking like before. If you anger him, even if your backer comes forward, he won't be able to protect you. Do you understand? Lin Fengtian was in a good mood today. He had asked Qin Zhou to come over for a drink. Coincidentally, he had asked Hua Jin out to discuss a collaboration. Hence, the three of them gathered together. Hua Jin respected Lin Fengtian quite a bit. He was even more in awe of Qin Zhou. Hence, in front of the two of them, he was quite restrained. He was a shrewd person. He would speak the human language when he saw people and the ghost when he saw ghosts. Lin Fengtian thought highly of Hua Jin. He also knew a lot about Hua Jin's past. Hence, he intended to guide this young junior. You're working with Xianxia on a TV series, right? That's right. Her scenes are almost done. Hua Jin said honestly. Lin Fengtian nodded and said, It's better to keep a distance from her. This was the first time he had heard someone say something like this. Generally speaking, he could only advise others to stay away from him. However, no one had reminded him to keep a distance from that person. The person behind Xianxia is very possessive. If you get too close to her, be careful that you don't get banned. Lin Fengtian said in a meaningful tone. As he spoke, he walked over and proposed a toast to Wuxia. Wuxia glanced at him, then suddenly looked at Hua Jin behind him and narrowed his eyes. Xianxia looked in Hua Jin's direction and was stunned for a moment. Then, she smiled and nodded at him. Hua Jin also smiled and said, Sure, what a coincidence. You're here too. Having a drink with a friend. Jianghu was drunk and retorted, Sister-in-law, what do you mean by having a drink with a friend? You don't even touch a drop of alcohol. You only drink soft drinks. It's a loss to drink with you. Sister-in-law, you're a bully. Xianxia waved her fist at him. Shut up. After interacting with them for so long, she was already familiar with Wuxia's buddies. Hence, she could joke with them. Sister-in-law? Hua Jin frowned in disbelief. Chapter 1929. In the end, he addressed Xianxia as sister-in-law in a respectful manner. What was the background of her fiancé? Even Lin Fengtian had personally reminded him not to speak without thinking and offend him. Otherwise, no matter how strong his backer was, he would not be able to protect him. He had heard that Xianxia had been banned from the entertainment industry. Was it also this man's doing? It could be seen that this was an incomparably powerful man, a supremely proud king. Hua Jin's heart skipped a beat. Wuxia narrowed his eyes and continued drinking, ignoring Hua Jin's gaze. At that moment, Hua Jin was conquered by his aura. The clash between men was a battle of auras. Wuxia just sat there with his back straight and his expression calm. No one in the entertainment industry could match his exquisite and handsome face. Even Xianxia was not qualified to do so. If such a man was born in the entertainment industry, he would not have the status of Xianxia. Just by sitting there, he did not need to say anything or show any expression. Just his irresistible aura alone was enough to make people feel awe and admiration from the bottom of their hearts. The suppression of his aura made Hua Jin subconsciously feel that he had lost. There was no way for him to fight back. In just a second, the difference between the two of them was obvious. Hua Jin thought to himself that this man was qualified enough to have someone as beautiful as Xianxia. He admitted defeat. Hua Jin walked over and smiled gently at Xianxia. "Sister, is this brother-in-law?" He called her sister in a tone that was intimate but not overly intimate. He did not want to cause her any trouble. As for Xianxia, he did not have any complicated feelings for her. He had always treated her as his sister. Perhaps it was because of her gentle and charming aura that he yearned for. He had lacked familial love since he was young, especially maternal love. He had no concept of it at all. However, deep in the bones of men, there was an incomparably extravagant hope for maternal love. Therefore, Hua Jin had a sibling relationship with Xianxia. He treated her as his elder sister, perhaps because he was greedy for the mature and gentle feeling she gave off. Wuxia glanced at him. "Who is this?" Xianxia immediately said, "Hua Jin is in the same crew as me. He's a few years younger than me and we get along quite well." Wuxia immediately looked at him suspiciously. Hua Jin, on the other hand, smiled sweetly and called out obediently, "Brother-in-law, I heard my sister mention you when we were on set." Wuxia first looked him up and down. Suddenly, when he heard his respectful greeting, he faintly grunted. However, they did not reject him. It seemed that he had acknowledged him as brother-in-law. Xianxia felt gratified. The three of them joined the battle. Hence, the table was in full swing. The battle was fierce. The ending was undoubtedly tragic. Other than Wuxia and Hua Jin, the rest of the people were almost lying down. Wuxia was born with a good alcohol tolerance and knew how to control the situation. Moreover, no one dared to force him to drink too much. Hua Jin, on the other hand, often went to bars and nightclubs. He had been through hundreds of battles and his alcohol tolerance was very high. Xianxia also drank half a glass. As a result, the alcohol kicked in. She was a little drunk, and it was time for her to stop drinking. When they left, it was already very late. Chapter 1930. Tonight, he was in a good mood. Hua Jin watched the two leave and smiled as well. He then helped Lin Fengtian out of the room. When the car passed by the night market, Xianxia leaned against the window and suddenly said, "I want to eat skewers." No. Wuxia, however, rejected her unquestionably. Barbecue, junk food, and unhygienic. Why did she like to eat such things? "It's getting late. You should go back and rest." "No, I want to eat. I haven't eaten in a long time." Wuxia was speechless. "Didn't Xianxia ask you to lose weight? We're going to walk the red carpet soon. You should at least maintain your figure, right? It's okay to eat a little. Just a little." Xianxia suddenly thought of something. "Don't tell me you haven't eaten skewers before?" "No. Oh please. It's delicious. Actually, the real delicacies are hidden in the streets and alleys. The taste is really good. If you haven't eaten it before, you'll regret missing it." Xianxia was eloquent. She looked at the delicious food passing by outside the window and was fascinated. Perhaps it was because of the yearning in her eyes. Wuxia finally softened and asked the driver to stop the car by the side. The weather was a little cold at night. When she got out of the car, he deliberately put his jacket on her. "What are you doing? I'm not cold." "Put it on." He did not allow her to protest and used his jacket to wrap her slender body. Xianxia had no choice but to put it on. However, the man's consideration still warmed her heart. The night market in capital city was busiest until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. It was bustling with people. Although it was early in the morning, business was good at the stalls. There was a night market here. At night, there would be a lot of delicious food. The foodies who were rooted in capital city rarely visited those restaurants. That was because they knew that the real delicacies were hidden in alleys like these. As the saying goes, good wine fears no dark alleys. Although the area wasn't bustling, business was booming at night. Xianxia finally found a seat. The table was low, and the stool was uneven. When Wuxia sat on it, the other end of the stool almost tilted up. Xianxia's reflexes were quick, and she only managed to stabilize her balance by sitting on it. This broken stool. Wuxia cussed in his heart. The table was also very short. After all, with his height, the table only reached his waist when he sat down. He had never felt so uneasy before and was not used to it. Xianxia glanced at his ashen face and laughed out loud. She had never seen Wuxia so nervous before. The honorable big boss Mu was actually willing to lower himself to accompany her to eat at a roadside stall. Aya, could this be considered true love? Xianxia covered her mouth and snickered. She was overjoyed. Wuxia had never been to such an occasion before, so he was at a loss. He did not understand. In such a simple place, even the table was missing half a corner and was not stable. What was there to patronize? Xianxia laughed at him. You don't understand. Actually, skewers are the most popular culture in the night market. I used to come here to eat skewers when I got off work late. Especially in the summer, it was especially good. In the winter, business is not good. In the summer, there are dozens of tables like this. Even 10 people can't handle it. As Xianxia spoke, she lowered her head to order something. It was midnight and she was very hungry. Chapter 1931. He pointed at one of the lines and questioned, "What's a silkworm cocoon?" Xianxia looked up and looked at him as if she was looking at a retard. She was extremely disdainful. What else can it be? After a silkworm baby spits silk and opens the cocoon, the silkworm will turn into a small ball inside. That's called a silkworm cocoon. Of course, he knew what a silkworm cocoon was. The problem was, could this show be eaten? That's a worm. Wuxia could not stay calm anymore. Can it be eaten? The taste is not bad. What's cicada? Wuxia's mysophobia was acting up. He felt that there was a black mass of worms flying in front of his eyes. Before he could see them, he already felt his stomach churning. This restaurant's roasted cicada is very delicious. My colleague brought me here to eat it. At first, I also felt disgusted, but after eating a little, it was like opening the door to a new world. Wuxia felt that the world was a fantasy. He had never heard that worms could be eaten. Moreover, cicada also has medicinal value. Eating it is not only harmless to the body, but it's also beneficial. However, barbecue is just for the taste. There's no need to consider whether it's nutritious or not. Now that I haven't eaten skewers, I'll definitely order cicada. After Xianxia was done ordering, she passed it to the boss. Soon, the food was served in skewers. When Wuxia saw the first serving, he immediately covered his mouth in disgust. This woman had a strong taste. She actually ate pig brains. Pig brains were roasted with chopped green onions, soy sauce, and garlic paste on top. It was especially fragrant, and the oil was constantly boiling. However, just imagining it made him flinch. That was a brain. Xianxia was speechless. Hey, what's wrong? You look like you're about to throw up. Is it that exaggerated? It feels disgusting. Just take a bite and you'll feel that there's such a delicacy in the world. Xianxia encouraged. Wuxia, on the other hand, gritted his teeth and refused to look at her. Just looking at it was enough to make him feel nauseous. If he tasted it again, wouldn't he vomit? Perhaps it was because he had received a Western-style education since he was young. But when he was younger, he didn't even dare to eat a fish on the table. Westerners were especially disgusted by animal heads. Especially when he was eating the fish, his eyes were staring at him. It was very scary. However, after he returned to China, he gradually accepted the Chinese food culture. However, he only dared to look at things like brains, claws, and worms from afar. He did not dare to taste them himself. Xianxia kept brainwashing him. She was determined to let him have a taste. Don't think that this is a brain. Just tell yourself that you're eating a piece of tofu. That's all. I'm not eating. Wuxia's attitude was firm and unwavering. Xianxia pouted and said, "Please, can you be more manly? If I dare to eat it, why don't you dare to eat it? What's in your head? You've even eaten snails before. These words, however, provoked him. Wuxia furrowed his brows and stared at her intently. Finally, with an expression as if he was facing death, he closed his eyes and allowed her to feed him a spoonful of crushed brains. He kept brainwashing himself. This is tofu, this is tofu. Wuxia endured the discomfort and swallowed a mouthful without tasting it. How is it? It's tasteless. You swallowed it directly? Chapter 1932. Wuxia's face immediately turned pale. No! Before he could finish his sentence, Xianxia suddenly grabbed his jaw and forced a mouthful of pig's brain into his mouth. Wuxia was speechless. This was simply inhumane torture. For the first time in his life, Wuxia had the urge to strangle her to death. Had this fellow become bold? Just as he was about to explode, his tongue tasted a trace of extremely delicious food. His expression instantly froze. He did not think too much just now as all his attention was focused on her. However, when he tasted the taste with his senses, it was indeed very delicious. The taste was not bad. Xianxia grinned. Hee. Isn't that right? Doesn't it taste great? It's not bad, he expressed implicitly. However, these 3 words were already a compliment. It was an acknowledgement of the pig's brain. Look at how inexperienced you are. Xianxia snickered. Wuxia's expression immediately turned cold. This stupid woman actually dared to tease him so recklessly and even laughed at him for being inexperienced. However, he was not angry. Perhaps, he liked her no matter what she was like. He liked it when she teased him and made fun of him without restraint. This made him feel that there was no distance between them. All along, everyone, even Xianxia, would more or less have a sense of respect for him. This feeling seemed to arise spontaneously. Even though he wanted to be closer to Xianxia, the little guy was still very respectful of him. However, this woman made him feel that interacting with her was very natural and there was no need to be restrained by anything. This feeling was very good. While Wuxia was in a daze, Xianxia took advantage of the heat and stuffed another mouthful of cicada into his mouth. Xianxia smiled and said, "Try it. How does it taste?" Almost instinctively, Wuxia turned his head and spat out the cicada. It's disgusting. I don't eat worms. The pig brain could barely accept it. Knowing won't do. He hated bugs the most. They felt dirty. Xianxia's lips twitched. Why did you spit it out? I don't like it. You also said earlier that you don't like eating pig brains. But after tasting it, don't you also think that it tastes pretty good? That's acceptable, but not the worm. Just thinking about it made him feel disgusted. Forget it, I won't force you. Xianxia pouted and snorted, then continued to eat. She hadn't eaten skewers for a long time, so she enjoyed them very much. Wuxia looked at her silently. When she ate, there was a different kind of temptation. Her pouty little mouth took a bite of the skewer, and her lips glistened with oil. As she chewed, her tender lips opened and closed, which was extremely tempting. When she ate, her manners were very good. Perhaps it was because beautiful people had a special charm even when they were eating. This was what it meant to be a feast for the eyes. This little thing always unknowingly revealed such a coquettish look from time to time. Watching her eat so attractively, Wuxia suddenly felt his throat becoming slightly hoarse. Eat slowly. Aren't you eating? Xianxia looked at him with regret. I ordered a lot. If you don't eat, you won't be able to finish it. If I can't finish it, I'll leave it. What a waste of food. Xianxia snorted coldly. No matter what, you have to finish it. Make the best use of it. Chapter 1933. Who asked you to order so much? Wuxia grumbled, but he picked up a skewer of crispy bones to share her burden. Is it nice? Not bad. Xianxia laughed. You don't know how to appreciate food. My dear, don't have such a heavy burden of being an idol. You should eat and drink well when you're alive. Wuxia was speechless. The two of them sat around the table. Xianxia ate heartily. She was full by the time she had finished eating. Wuxia stood up to settle the bill, but Xianxia waved her hand generously. This meal is on me. Wuxia was speechless. Wipe your mouth. As he spoke, he passed the handkerchief to her. Xianxia carefully wiped the grease off her mouth as she ran to settle the bill. The total was more than 100 yuan, so it was still considered a good deal. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, they wanted to go home and rest early. Xianxia held onto his arm and snuggled up in the crook of his arm. Her extremely coquettish look made his heart skip a beat. Thus, he hugged her shoulders, lowered his head, and kissed her deeply on the lips. He lingered and did not go deeper. Although it was just a light kiss, it was still not enough. When he let go of her, Xianxia was already intoxicated. Her face looked as if it had been smeared with high-quality rouge, especially her pair of shimmering eyes. Wuxia's throat moved. In this chilly wind, his body was slightly hot. Let's go home. He hugged her and wanted to quickly get into the car to avoid the wind. However, just as they were about to get into the car, Wuxia suddenly caught a glimpse of a light in a corner not far away. His gaze froze and he turned around abruptly. He saw a flash of light. Immediately after, there seemed to be a black shadow moving in the parterre. Someone was secretly taking pictures. With this realization, Wuxia said to her, "Get in the car." "What's the matter?" "Get in the car first. There's an entertainment reporter secretly taking pictures." When Xianxia heard this, she didn't dare to make a sound and quickly hid in the car. Wuxia walked in the direction of the figure. At first, that person didn't realize that Wuxia had discovered his presence. However, when he got closer, he suddenly realized that he had been discovered and turned to escape. "Stop right there," he said coldly. The entertainment reporter suddenly stopped in his tracks and turned around. However, he did not recognize the identity of the man in front of him and said in a somewhat annoyed tone, "What? What did you take pictures of just now?" Wuxia asked coldly and his tone was unfriendly. Seeing that his tone was not friendly, the entertainment reporter's attitude was not good either. He retorted arrogantly, "It's none of your business. What's that got to do with you? I don't care what you've taken." The entertainment reporter was so angry that he laughed instead. "Why should I? I have the right to reject your order." Xianxia had been very popular recently. Perhaps, the word popular couldn't even describe the momentum of her popularity. She exploded in popularity overnight. The three words Xianxia were becoming more and more valuable. Jianghu had taken very good measures to protect Xianxia. It was very rare for the entertainment reporters to take even a single shot of her. The reason he had been waiting here was to wait for another person. However, he didn't expect that instead of that person, an even bigger fish would come. Xianxia. Gosh, there was a mysterious man beside her. The two of them were very close to each other and were hugging each other. They looked very intimate. He even saw this man kissing her just now. Chapter 1934. He did not expect to be able to verify that Xianxia was indeed not a simple person. He had even managed to capture an intimate scene between the two of them, which was like a treasure to him. However, he did not expect the man to be so sharp as to discover it. Wuxia stared at him for a long time, like a ferocious lion staring at its prey. Suddenly, he stopped talking and sneered. His voice was as cold as ice. "What a right to refuse." He laughed. He laughed at the fact that the reporter refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. The entertainment reporter was stunned by his cold laughter. For a moment, he could not move and looked at him stiffly. Wuxia said coldly, "Go back. You can publish the photos if you want to. But I have to remind you of one thing. Don't lose your hands over some benefits." With that, he turned around and left expressionlessly. He got into the car and drove off. The entertainment reporter watched the car leave and fell to the ground in fright as if he had lost all his strength. The aura that Wuxia exuded just now was enough to make one's scalp tingle and shudder. Especially that pair of eyes, it made one's hair stand on end. Was he threatening him? Did he think that he was scared? He had been in the entertainment industry for so many years. Could it be that he grew up being scared? The entertainment reporter wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He did not know who this man was to have such a threatening aura. He hugged his dessert tightly and returned home. He decided to create a piece of news overnight and publish it in the early hours of the morning. It would definitely drive the website's click-through rate. For online portals like them, the click-through rate meant profit. In the car, Xianxia leaned against the window. She covered her face with a cap and put on a mask. Wuxia had only been there for a short while, but she was already fully armed. When he got into the car and saw that she was ready, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. "He's gone. Who are you guarding against?" Xianxia looked out of the window and asked doubtfully, "Who's so wicked to secretly take photos of me?" "Who else could it be other than entertainment reporters? You're so popular now. In the eyes of the reporters, you're like a delicious cake," Wuxia said indifferently. "Ugh." Xianxia was still a little wary. "Did you chase after him just now?" "No." "Did you manage to capture anything?" Wuxia laughed and said, "I took a picture of us kissing. Does that count?" "Then he didn't delete it?" "It doesn't matter to me." Xianxia was his woman. He couldn't wait to announce it to the whole world. This way, no one would dare to covet his little thing. Therefore, he didn't mind being secretly photographed. However, the problem was that if someone secretly took a photo and brought it back to the chief editor, if they saw the person in the photo, it would be another matter if they dared to publish it. It could be seen that this entertainment reporter wasn't very experienced. If it was an experienced entertainment reporter, they would have to take a detour when they saw him. They wouldn't even dare to take a second look at him, let alone take a sneak shot. Wuxia used to be very disgusted with reporters who secretly took photos of him. With his family background, the first crown prince of the capital, his extraordinary background, prominent power, and good looks, he became the object of public figures who were eager to find out more about him. In the eyes of the public, he was like a god. Man is a ridiculous thing. Chapter 1935. As the grandson of the richest man in the country, he was young but talented. He was completely different from the second son of a rich family. The public had always been curious about him. However, he did not like his privacy being pried into. When he first entered the Mu group, he was first exposed to the public in a national news video. He was sitting in the main seat, and the camera flashed by. He became a hot topic online. The paparazzi started to take photos of him secretly. Of course, Wuxia was young and hot-blooded at that time. Those who took photos of him ended up in a sorry state. The worst thing was that the photos of him visiting his mother's grave were also published online. In a fit of anger, he was ruthless and banned the entire news agency. From then on, no entertainment reporters dared to pursue him. No one dared to offend this ruthless crown prince. How annoying. He's just like a fly. Xianxia did not like this feeling. However, as a public figure, this was something that had to be sacrificed. The public always had a strong desire to pry into celebrities. Just as Wuxia had expected, the next day was uneventful. In fact, after the entertainment reporter had gone home last night, he had worked through the night to produce a piece of news. When he finally submitted it to the chief editor for review, the chief editor had seen the familiar face of the man in the photo and had slammed the manuscript on his face. "Do you know the identity of the man in the photo? How dare you take photos of such a person? Do you want to implicate the entire website?" The entertainment reporter was confused and didn't know what to do. "Boss, what's going on? Do you know that there are 4 princes in the capital who cannot be offended? The first one is the big Buddha of the Mu group." When the reporter heard this, his mouth opened so wide that it could fit 2 eggs. "What? You mean that the man I took photos of is Wuxia? Have you heard of this name?" "Of course. It's like thunder in my ears." "Then why did you write it?" The chief editor was furious. If he had been careless, Dishing Financial Group would have announced a hostile takeover of them in less than 2 days once the photo was published on the company's website. Only then did the entertainment reporter understand. No wonder that man was so arrogant that day. It turned out that this person had a great background. It seemed that he was still too inexperienced and had almost offended someone he should not have offended. When he turned around, the chief editor could not sit still and broke out in a cold sweat. He immediately called Minyu and asked him to pass on his apology to Wuxia. Minyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was rare for there to be an entertainment company that didn't know their boss. They were inexperienced and didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He smiled and said, "I don't want this to happen again in the future." "Of course. This kind of thing will never happen again. I just hope that Chairman Mu won't be angry because of this. We didn't discipline her well enough, and this happened. We've put Chairman Mu in a difficult position. Haha. It's good that you know the rules. Our boss hates private matters the most. In the future, please give more guidance to those people under you. Don't make any more trouble. After hearing Min Yu's warning, the chief editor immediately thanked him profusely. It was only a few days before the opening of the film festival. Qin Zhou brought her to choose a gown. Xianxia rushed to film for another 2 days before returning home early. On the way home, she received a call from Gong Jie. Chapter 1936. On the other end, Gong Jie's tone was light and cheerful. Xianxia smiled. Busy man, you're finally on holiday? Gong Jie pursed his lips into a smile and said, Yes. Sis, I want to go to Beijing for a walk, but I can't find a good guide. What do you think I should do? All right, how about this? I'll pick you up in the afternoon and bring you out for some fun. Okay. When Xianxia reached home, she changed into a thick coat, paired it with a hat, a pair of sunglasses, and a mask. She went out in full gear. The weather was very good today. The sky was clear and the sun was shining brightly. It was the best time to go out for a walk. On the way, Xianxia had already thought about it. Since it was not a holiday, it was not a bad idea to go on a road trip to the wildlife park. Gong Jie sent her a location. Xianxia drove there using the GPS. It turned out to be the headquarters of Legends Group. When they drove into the park, Xianxia was stunned by the majestic building. What a magnificent building! Xianxia sighed in her heart. Legends Group was a global toy supplier. It had a very high status. 2 years ago, it was a toy factory that was on the verge of bankruptcy. Now, after 2 days of consolidation, it had become a toy empire. It was the world's #1 toy brand and was highly respected by children. In the past, when she bought gowns for Yu, she would always go to Legends brand store to buy one. The service was good and the price was not too expensive. Moreover, the quality was good. Yu liked it very much and could not bear to put it down. However, she did not expect Legends Group's headquarters to be so magnificent. However, why was Gong Jie here? After Gong Jie got into the car, Xianxia asked, Why are you here? Because Yu. Gong Jie was stunned for a moment before he subconsciously blurted out the truth. Fortunately, just as he was about to speak, he remembered that the boy had repeatedly reminded him to keep the secret for him. Thus, he stopped abruptly and did not continue speaking. Yu. Xianxia was puzzled and confused. Didn't Yu like Legends toys? Coincidentally, this company is also one of my business partners, so I came over to check it out. Gong Jie glossed over it and justified himself. Xianxia nodded and smiled. Yes, Yu likes Legends toys very much. I can't bear to part with them. Gong Jie smiled, but he was complaining in his heart. What do you mean by can't put it down? That's just an illusion, okay? In reality, Yu was the chief designer of the toys. He had a thick stack of toy blueprints in his study room. Before the toys were released to the market, he had gone through the blueprints several times to find out where they were lacking. After he perfected them, he put them into mass production. He was already sick of the toys before they hit the market. Yu had once complained to him, Mommy's gift to me is so unoriginal. Other than Legends toys, it's Legends smart products. Can I say that every gift she gives me is a flagship product designed by me? I have to pretend that I like it very much. Otherwise she will think too much. That at least shows that your designs are very good and are very popular in the market. Yu touched his forehead helplessly. But I'm already sick of toys. I can't come up with anything new. Gong Jie could not help laughing when he thought of this. His stupid sister would never have thought that the chief designer of Legends toys was her precious son. Chapter 1937. Gong Jie asked curiously. He was extremely surprised. How could his sister be so capable as to raise such a heaven-defying genius like Yu? Compared to Yu, Xianxia was born in the same womb as Yu and was also 8 months pregnant. Why was Xianxia not as smart as Yu? When he asked about Yu said, Mommy didn't teach me how to raise me. She has always let me do whatever I want and allowed me to develop freely. Gong Jie obviously didn't believe him. How could he develop freely to this extent? To be honest, he had always wanted to bring Yu back to the Gong family. His father had always had high hopes for this child and had high hopes for him. He had always wondered what kind of child could come up with the Deva Eye project and promote the research. If the research was successful, the hurricane group's future territory would be immeasurable. However, he still hadn't revealed Yu Yu's identity to his father. Xianxia smiled helplessly. I didn't really raise him. Yu Yu has been in poor health since he was young. I spent all my effort on his health. Poor health? Gongjie raised his eyebrows. Yu Yu's health was indeed not satisfactory. He was very thin and was different from Xiao Yichen's sunny and energetic aura. Other than the mature and steady aura he gave off, there was also a strange feeling. His health seemed to be very poor. Once he exercised vigorously, his heart rate would be irregular and his breathing would be frighteningly rapid. He had never seen Yu Yu's illness, but he had always seen him pale and weak. Xianxia said quietly, yes. Because he was born prematurely and Xiao Yichen had taken all the nutrients from his mother's body, he didn't cry or make a fuss when he was born. His little face was purple and he didn't even breathe. When Xiao Yichen was born, he cried very loudly. Although he was also a premature baby, he was very healthy. However, Yu Yu underwent surgery right after she was born. After that, she was kept in an incubator for a long time before she passed the critical stage. He was almost gone. The nurses all said that if it weren't for the little guy's strong will to live, he wouldn't have made it. As Xianxia spoke, she paused and looked at him. Isn't it amazing? Such a young child actually had a strong will to live. Therefore, I feel that you and I are fated to be together. He is the best gift that God has given me. Although she looked calm when she said this, when Yu Yu was in the critical stage and she had just given birth, she still held on to her body and painstakingly stayed by Yu Yu's side. At that time, she was filled with despair and uneasiness. She prayed all the time that this child would be safe and sound. Every minute, every second was torture. This was because no one knew what fate this child would face in the next second. Would it be death? Would it be survival? Even the doctors couldn't say for sure. They only said that this child had a strong will to live, but his vitality was very weak. They could only try their best. Whether the child could survive or not depended on the child's luck. Xianxia was frightened when she heard this. She was afraid that the child wouldn't survive. When she was still in school, she actually didn't like children. When she saw how mischievous other children were, she silently thought that if she had children of her own in the future, she would definitely train them to be obedient and cute. Chapter 1938. Motherhood could turn a fierce and aggressive woman into a gentle and soft woman. She was amazed by the wonders of God and the impermanence of the world. She was certain that once the two children were born, they would be separated from her. Even so, she still hoped that the two children would grow up healthily. Xiao Yichen was taken away by the Mu family when he was born. However, they left behind a sickly child. The Mu family did not know. The first time Xianxia saw the child, he was in an incubator. His skin was wrinkled and his face was flushed. He did not even have time to open his eyes. However, his long eyelashes fluttered like the wings of a butterfly. They were long and charming. I hope that you will survive. I hope that you will grow up to be taller than me and be healthy. Xianxia made a wish and named him Tianyu. She hoped that the heavens would protect the child and that he would be able to survive the ordeal. The child seemed to be very intelligent. It was as if he understood her prayers. His vital signs became more stable day by day. On the 18th day of his birth, he finally survived the ordeal. However, he spent his long childhood in the hospital. Xianxia always felt that she owed him. Hence, unlike other parents, she did not impose too many burdens on the child and allowed him to develop freely. Gongjie quietly added after her, he developed freely, but in the end, he developed into such a heaven-defying person. This little guy is young, but he is very smart. He has a sweet mouth and knows how to coax people. Xianxia was amused. Yes. I don't know who he learned that from. He will definitely be a lady killer when he grows up. Not only that. Now that I think about it, he will definitely be a lady killer when he grows up. He will be able to attract women from as young as 7 years old to as old as 70 years old. Haha. Xianxia began to imagine that when Yu Yu grew up, there would be many girls lining up to pursue him. She could not help but feel amused. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 7 years had passed. Perhaps in the blink of an eye, Yu Yu would really grow up. Xianxia thought that when that day came and Yu Yu brought his wife home, she would definitely be jealous. Sister, Where are we going to play? Safari park. Look at animals? Gong Jie raised his eyebrows in anticipation. I've never been to a zoo since I was young. How could this be? Gong Jie said indifferently. Because I had a lot of tasks when I was young, my father gave me a lot of plans, so I didn't have the time to play. The zoo is very interesting. We'll go on a road trip and drive around the park. All right. Gong Jie agreed happily. As long as he could be with her, he would like to go anywhere. When they arrived at the gate of the zoo, they were charged for stopping a taxi. Xianxia had already booked the tickets online. Now that the internet was developed, everything was very convenient. One only needed to scan the QR code to obtain a pass. The safari park had a special road trip. What was different from other zoos was that here, one could have close contact with some gentle animals. In the zoo, other than the area for ferocious animals, visitors could park their cars at any time and interact with the animals. It was very interesting. This zoo was very popular. Although it was not a weekend, it still attracted many visitors and the queue was very long. Chapter 1939. Before this, she had specially prepared a lot of carrots and vegetables in advance, intending to feed them to the small animals. After successfully entering the park, Xianxia's car was quickly stopped by a cute alpaca. These animals in the wildlife park were all very smart. When they saw the car, they would casually walk forward and stop the car to ask for food. Some would even stick their heads into the car window and lick it with their tongues. They would use a pair of curious and bright eyes to stare at them like spiritual spirits. What's this? Gong Jie's eyes widened in surprise. He looked very interested in the alpaca that was blocking the car and chewing non-stop. Alpaca. Yes, it has a nickname. It's called Grass Mud Horse. Is it asking us for food? Gong Jie asked curiously. His handsome eyes were slightly smiling as he looked at the alpaca. A pair of lazy eyes stared at the car. Then, with lazy and decadent steps, it slowly walked to the car window. After posing, it calmly stuck its head out of the car window and opened its mouth wide. Gong Jie was amused. So bad, stopping the car to ask for food. How scheming. It's very clever. Xianxia laughed again. Give it a carrot. It likes carrots. Gong Jie had just taken out a carrot from the food container. Before he could feed it, the alpaca's eyes lit up and it nimbly took the carrot from his hand. Its rude and unreasonable actions were undoubtedly snatching food. Gong Jie was stunned. He felt like he was being charged a toll. Xianxia didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She looked at the alpaca that had destroyed a carrot. Then, it looked at the food container in Gong Jie's hand and licked his face with its long tongue. Gong Jie snatched it away in disgust and hugged Xianxia's shoulder. Sister, save me. Don't tell me you're afraid of an alpaca. I dislike it. Its mouth stinks. The Gong Jie was a bit of a clean freak. After being licked by the alpaca, he was disgusted. Xianxia said enviously, Xiao Jie, you don't cherish it. This alpaca was very cold. Most people wanted to get close to it, but it ignored them. It licks you because it likes you. Of course not. Gong Jie complained. It's obviously trying to steal my carrot. That's why it's trying to be nice to me. It's so scheming. Xianxia laughed out loud. Then quickly give it the carrot. If you give it to him, he won't bother you anymore. Gong Jie took out a carrot to tease it. He deliberately tempted it, and when it was about to eat it, he moved away. However, the alpaca was very persistent. It didn't know how to be angry. It stared at the carrot in Gong Jie's hand for a long time, but it couldn't lick it. After a while, the alpaca realized that the two-legged beast must be teasing it. It pouted its mouth angrily and spat at him. Xianxia was speechless. Gong Jie was also speechless. He closed his eyes, frowned and fell silent. The saliva on his face was sticky. His face was stiff, as if it was the first time an animal had despised him and spat at him. Was it despising him? Xianxia complained. Serves you right. Who asked you to tease it? I. Gong Jie expressed his innocence. He thought it was cute, so he couldn't help but want to tease it. In the end, the alpaca despised him. The alpaca seemed to have vented its anger and spat at Gong Jie again. Chapter 1940. A stream of saliva splattered on Xianxia's face. Xianxia was still laughing at him when she was spat on too. She was so aggrieved that she was about to cry. Gong Jie laughed gloatingly. Ha ha ha. You were spat on too. Serves you right. Who asked you to laugh at me? Xianxia immediately took a wet towel and wiped the saliva off her face. She glared at him. You still have the cheek to laugh? It's all your fault for implicating me. He was obviously spitting on you. You're my sister. We should share blessings and hardships together. Gong Jie winked mischievously and also wiped his face with a wet towel. The siblings looked at each other and smiled knowingly. After giving the carrot to the alpaca, Xianxia and Gong Jie went to the sink and washed the saliva off their faces. Luckily, she didn't wear any makeup. Otherwise, without makeup remover, it would be difficult to remove the saliva on her face. After Gong Jie washed his face, he looked at Xianxia who was carefully wiping her face. He suddenly reached out and held her hand tightly. Xianxia turned around and looked at Gong Jie, only to see his eyes full of tenderness. It's so good to be able to hold my sister's hand. Gong Jie's smiling eyes were bright and full of doting. Why? You caused me to be spat on and now you're trying to please me? It's too late. Sister, I was wrong. Don't be angry, okay? Gong Jie pretended to be obedient and tried to please her. Xianxia snorted and turned to leave. Gong Jie stuck behind her, feeling wronged. Just like when they were young, when he made a mistake, he would follow behind her and constantly use flowery words to make her happy. Xianxia continued to walk forward by herself as she pursed her lips and snickered incessantly. After Gong Jie repeatedly begged for mercy, she turned to glare at him coquettishly and suddenly held his hand. All right, I forgive you. But from now on, be good, okay? Okay. Listen to me. Gong Jie smiled and looked at her obediently. Even though he was 189 meters tall, Xianxia's petite and slender body only reached his chest, making her look like a little bird that was dependent on him. However, such a big guy listened to her and even obediently lowered his head to kiss her on the cheek. I love Big Sis the most. Hey, there are so many people watching. Isn't it embarrassing? Can you be more serious? What? People will only be envious of our good relationship, Gong Jie said as he held her hand tightly. Along the way, he gently held her hand as they quietly toured the garden. Walking on the small path, countless people turned their heads to look at the handsome man and beautiful woman. The man had a slender figure, a handsome face, and a tall and straight posture. The woman's figure was graceful, elegant and refined, quiet and warm. Perhaps it was because Xianxia was wearing a mask and her face couldn't be seen clearly. But when they saw her and Gong Jie standing together, many people mistakenly thought that they were a couple. There were even many young couples looking at them. Especially those young ladies, their gazes landed on Gong Jie and they couldn't look away. They had never seen such a handsome and sunny man, especially when Gong Jie lowered his head to listen seriously to Xianxia's words. His eyes were focused, serious, and full of love, making many girls envious. They also wanted to have such a considerate and gentle boyfriend. The most important thing was that he was so handsome. Yet, such a perfect man was actually taken. Chapter 1941. Xianxia was baffled and felt many hostile gazes on her. She looked around and realized that many people were looking at them curiously. She seemed to have accidentally become the public enemy of the girls. However, it was indeed a little too ostentatious to have someone as dazzling as Xiao Jie by her side. Let's go back to the car? What's wrong? Gong Jie did not notice the admiring gazes behind him and raised his eyebrows curiously. Tired? Yeah, a little. Let's go to the beast area. Thus, the two of them hurriedly got into the car and left this troublesome place. Xianxia actually enjoyed spending time with Gong Jie. He was the family member she cared about the most and one of the few people in the world who doted on her the most. He was different from Mu Yaja. Mu Yaja doted on her, but he was very possessive of her. However, Xiao Jie was different. He listened to everything she said. Just like when they were young. He would do whatever she said and follow her wishes. She cherished Xiao Jie as a family member. Similarly, she knew that Xiao Jie cherished her as much as his own life. She had seen everything he had done in silence. The day was very short and ended very quickly. When she sent him back to the hotel, Gong Jie was silent and seemed a little lonely. His vacation was very short. It was just 2 days and he had to resume his hectic schedule soon. He only had 1 day of companionship, but he felt unsatisfied. Sister, It would be great if we could hang out together more often like today. Sure. As long as you're not busy. Will brother-in-law be jealous? Xianxia smiled proudly. Will he be jealous of his own brother-in-law? That's true. When they arrived at the hotel, Gongjie got out of the car and turned to look at her reluctantly. Sister, I still hope that you can consider going back to the Gong family with me. I haven't mentioned your matter to father, but he has been keeping an eye on my whereabouts. I'm afraid I can't hide it for long. Soon, father will know about you. Xianxia hesitated for a moment, then said slowly, How did he know your whereabouts? Because I'm surrounded by his spies. Gongjie paused for a moment, but in his heart, he silently cursed. To be honest, he wasn't sure if his father knew about her movements. Even though he avoided it and took the initiative to hide it, there was no news from the Gong family. However, her father's influence was extensive, and he would soon grasp her sister's whereabouts. Sooner or later, she would be exposed. Therefore, he wanted to bring her back to the Gong family. Xianxia asked hesitantly, Will he accept me? Of course. You are his daughter. Father has always missed you. Really? Accept me and the Mu family? Gongjie suddenly fell silent. Suddenly he slowly said, Father hates the Mu family more than I do. Even after so many years, it was still difficult for him to let go. I'm afraid. It will be difficult. If there comes a day when he can accept everything about me, be it my husband, Yu, or Xiao Chen, if he can accept it, then I will be willing to go back to the Gong family with you. However, before that, I don't want to acknowledge him. Xianxia said truthfully. Gongjie took a deep breath and suddenly smiled. Okay, I won't force you, but I still hope that you will consider it. Okay. Chapter 1942. Go back to the Gong family? That place that was related to her by blood. What kind of place was the Gong family? Were the people in the family easy to get along with? Would they be hostile towards her? She guessed from Gongjie that her mother was not the only woman in the Gong Xiaoying family. Gongjie said that there were many members in the family and many candidates for the successor. Firstly, she could imagine that the Gong family was a big family. Secondly, she guessed that the Gong Xiaoying family must have many women and, like the Mu family, many children. She was just one of them who had wandered outside. He did not seem to know that she was still alive, but he had always cared about her. After all, Mu Qingqing was probably the woman he loved the most in his life. She was also the woman he felt the most guilty towards. He had many regrets. It was as if he could only fill this regret by finding her. Then, should she go back to the Gong family? Xianxia had never considered this question. The Gong family had always given her the feeling that they were mysterious and domineering. However, it did not give her a sense of warmth. It made her feel that that place did not feel like a home. She did not want to go back. Subconsciously, she did not want to go back to that cold place. To her, the Gong family did not mean anything. It was just two emotionless words. It was not that she was heartless, but since she was young, the concept of her biological father had been very weak. When she got home, Yu and Xiao Chen were looking at the gown that had been delivered to them. The people from the studio had just delivered the gown. Yu and Xiao Chen opened the door. Seeing that Xianxia had returned, the assistant smiled and greeted her respectfully. Madam Yun, you are back. We've already ironed the gown. Would you like to try it on? If there are any imperfections or flaws in the details, we'll fix them. The film festival is the day after tomorrow. Okay. Xianxia glanced at them, only to see a look of exhaustion on the faces of the assistants. This gown was specially custom-made. She originally wanted to go to the counter and buy a set of finished products. She didn't need to wait and could wear it immediately. Many of the dresses at the counter were finished products from the fashion show. However, Qin Zhou didn't agree. It was very easy to wear the same clothes as the finished products of the show. There were so many star-studded celebrities at the film festival, and it was easy for them to wear the same outfit. Although it was not scary to wear the same outfit, it was embarrassing to see who was the ugliest. However, if they wore the same outfit, it was inevitable that the public would compare them and judge them. What Qin Zhou was more worried about was that now that she was so popular, if she were to wear the same outfit as a small fry, they would definitely be tied together by the other party's team. Wasn't this the same as being raped? Qin Zhou would never allow such a thing to happen. Therefore, he asked many experienced designers to design a few sets of gowns as soon as possible. After taking Xianxia to choose, he took measurements. It had only been a few days since the dress selection, and the dress had already been rushed out. This gown was exquisitely made. It looked simple and elegant, but in reality, the embellishment of the details took a lot of effort. Xianxia was quite surprised that such an exquisite dress could be made in just 5 days. It was also obvious that the people in the studio attached great importance to this matter. It was obvious that they had worked overnight to complete it. Originally, they had called Jianghu and asked him to go to the studio with Xianxia to try on the gown. Chapter 1943. A few assistants helped her change into the gown. After changing, Xianxia stood in front of the full-length mirror and looked at herself in satisfaction. She had to admit that Jianghu had a unique taste. She had thought that he would custom-make a gorgeous gown for her, but in fact, he had custom-made a simple and beautiful gown for her. The Green Apple had been nominated for many awards at the film festival. Therefore, she had to match the atmosphere of the movie when she walked the red carpet. In the movie, she had created a pure and elegant image. Therefore, when she walked the red carpet, if she were to put on too much makeup, it would make the movie fans feel unfamiliar with her. She had to match the theme of the movie and promote it further. Most of the fans at the film festival were attracted to her performance in The Green Apple. Therefore, Jianghu had custom-made a pure and elegant gown for her. This way, the fans would feel immersed, as if the character in the movie had walked out of the screen alive. The snow-white gown was embellished with delicate blue lace. It was refined and elegant, and it was beautiful beyond compare. Coupled with the crystal-like nude makeup, it looked pure and elegant. It was very beautiful. Xianxia was also very satisfied. She walked out in the gown and stood in front of Yu and Xianxia. "What do you think of this gown?" "Wah!" Xianxia immediately exclaimed in surprise. "Mommy is so beautiful." This was the so-called clothes rack. Xianxia had a delicate frame, a well-proportioned body, and a rare golden ratio. Her legs were very long, so even though she was wearing slippers, she still looked very elegant. Xianxia felt that his mommy looked good no matter what she wore. Not only was his mommy beautiful, but she also had a very elegant aura. Beauty could be improved later, but elegance was very difficult to improve. Some female celebrities were very beautiful, but they were so delicate that they looked like soulless porcelain dolls. They were very empty and lacked charm. Therefore, temperament was sometimes even more charming than beauty. Yu crossed his arms and looked at her with a deep gaze. He quietly sized her up and suddenly smiled gently. "Mommy looks very good in this gown. Why did you take so long to answer?" Xianxia pouted. "Are you saying something against your will to make mommy happy?" "What? You look good. You look good no matter what you wear. How can I lie to you?" "You still deny it? What do you mean by, I look good in anything?" You can't lie to mommy." Xianxia snickered. "There's a saying that goes, beauty is in the eye of the beholder." "Yu taught me." Xianxia blushed. "What lover?" Yu said that mommy must have been his lover in his past life. That's why they were fated to meet in this life. Before Xianxia could finish his sentence, Yu covered his mouth and glared at him. "What nonsense are you spouting?" Little Chen looked at him innocently. Blinking his eyes, he seemed to be silently accusing him. "You're the one who told me that." He wasn't spouting nonsense. Yu had told him before that a daughter was her father's lover in his past life. Therefore, it should be the same for a mother and a son. Therefore, beauty was in the eye of the beholder. In Yu's eyes, his mommy was perfect. No one could compare to her in this world. However, Yu hated Xianxia for failing to live up to his expectations. He gritted his teeth. How could he say something like that in front of mommy? Chapter 1944. It was a pure thought, but when he said it, it made him seem like he had an Oedipus complex. Xianxia looked at the two little guys and suddenly burst into laughter. Yu, don't bully your older brother." Yu looked at her innocently, feeling helpless. Finally, she let go of his hand helplessly. However, her cold gaze seemed to be warning Xianxia not to say anything else. Xianxia made an okay sign. Xianxia changed out of the gown, and the assistants came forward to ask about it. Xianxia was very satisfied with the gown and said, It's already perfect. Thank you for your hard work. You must have put in a lot of effort to rush this gown, right? The assistants looked at each other and heaved a sigh of relief. Madam Yun, it's good that you're satisfied. However, it's only right that we put in a lot of effort. Customers come first. Our goal is to make sure that you're satisfied. After sending off the people from the studio, Yu pestered Xianxia and asked, Mommy, are you going to walk the red carpet with Daddy at the film festival the day after tomorrow? How did you know? Daddy told me. Yu pursed his lips and smiled, but he looked a little lonely. I also want to walk the red carpet with Mommy. Xianxia lowered his little head in loneliness. I'm so envious of Daddy. He can walk the red carpet with beautiful Mommy. I'm so envious. Daddy deliberately told us. Isn't it obvious that he's showing off? Yu hugged his chest indignantly and felt very indignant. He's really grown up. Even a blockhead like Daddy is following the trend and showing off his love. Sigh. Xianxia looked at them in a daze and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. These two little guys looked like they were putting on a show. She squatted down in front of them and pondered for a moment. Suddenly, she smiled and said, One day, I'll let you walk the red carpet with Mommy, okay? Yu and Xianxia looked up in surprise when they heard this. They looked at her in disbelief and said in unison, Really? Xianxia was especially excited. Can we really walk the red carpet with Mommy? Yes, of course. When Mommy becomes the best actress, I'll walk the red carpet with you. Xianxia was elated and he clapped his hands. That's great. Mommy, I love you. However, Mommy Yu uses Mommy and Mommy, don't make us wait too long. You Mommy my, Mommy Mommy. Mommy 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 A's Mommy she's Mommy love ma Mommy Mommy's her. Mommy 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 is. You Mommy, Mommy Mommy Mommy, Momo yay. Why? Xianxia smiled. You have a high chance of winning an award. However, this year's competition seems to be very strong. Mommy must work hard and win an award. Thank you for your kind words. Xianxia was in a good mood. She planted a kiss on his forehead. Yu immediately said proudly, Me too. I want Mommy's kiss too. Silly boy. Xianxia looked at him lovingly. Then, she leaned over and kissed Yu's tender cheeks. Yu's face smelled like milk. It was as if he had been soaked in milk. She patted his little head and swore to herself that if she had the chance, she would walk the red carpet with the two of them. This was her real dream. That night, Xianxia asked her if the gown fit her. Chapter 1945. She had just debuted and was attending the film festival as a newcomer. Xianxia emphasized that she should not be too aggressive and walk the red carpet quietly with Wuxia. All that was left was to wait for the awards to be announced. The film festival was a star-studded event with many big shots and A-list actors and actresses, as well as veteran actors and actresses. Some celebrities were easy to deal with and were generous. Some celebrities had weird tempers and were sensitive. They were hostile and guarded against newcomers. She needed to pay attention to this. She had to take the initiative to greet the seniors and accept any suggestions from them. She had to deal with those who were not friendly to her calmly. After all, she had just debuted and was inexperienced. It was normal for her to be ostracized. It was difficult for newcomers to survive in any field. All of them had been newbies before. Their wives had gone through hardships to become their wives, and they were experienced. Naturally, they had to be a little more arrogant and like to put on airs. They had to cater to them and avoid unnecessary disputes. Actually, Xianxia was worried that Xianxia would be ostracized at the film festival. After all, she was a newcomer but had a strong momentum. She had a box office of billions. Moreover, The Green Apple had broken the box office record. Therefore, many people were hostile to her and speculated about her. However, he heard that Xianxia and Chairman Mu were walking the red carpet together and that their seats were arranged to be next to each other. With Chairman Mu around, she should not be in too much trouble. After a while, Xianxia sent over the draft of the media interview. Some of the key questions were listed and the answers were written. He asked her to memorize them and improvise. Xianxia was impressed by his thoughtfulness. She could not help but ask, Are there any interviews on the day of the film festival? It's not an interview. It's a routine interview with all the main cast of The Green Apple. It's all very simple questions. You just have to memorize them. I've already contacted the media. There won't be any tricky questions. As long as they're not tricky questions. Don't worry. We've already communicated with the media beforehand. The questions on the press release in your hand will be the questions that the media will ask on that day. Memorize them and answer accordingly. Xianxia paid special attention to this matter. You must memorize them properly. Okay. After ending the call with Xianxia, she browsed Weibo for a while. As expected, her personal Weibo was once again flooded with a series of shares and reposts, as well as hundreds of thousands of likes. So, this was what it meant to be famous. She felt that after becoming famous, there wasn't much of a change for her. As a public figure, he had indeed sacrificed a lot in his private life. Other than that, there wasn't much difference. Perhaps it was because her mentality was better. She adjusted very quickly. As usual, she clicked into Gu Xingzi's Weibo. The most recent post was the half-length photo of him in the bathroom. That was the condition he promised his fans after the box office hit 2 billion. After this Weibo post, there were no other updates. He had really disappeared without a trace. Other than the fact that there was no exposure or announcement, Wuxia's ban on him was even more comprehensive. All the advertisements that he endorsed had been removed from the TV station. However, due to the contract, some of the print advertisements of the big brands would still appear in the department stores. Chapter 1946. Including this film festival. Gu Xingzi was supposed to be an important guest, but it was confirmed that he would not be attending this time. The absence of the male lead in the Green Apple would definitely cause a lot of discussion and speculation. Xianxia turned off her phone and leaned against the chair. Sometimes, the entertainment industry was really a cruel place. She had just debuted not long ago, but she already had a deep understanding of it. Forget it. Don't think so much. When Wuxia returned, Xianxia had already gone to bed early. Her phone had slipped to the side, but it was still lit up. He picked it up and glanced at it. She was still memorizing her script before going to bed. The man smiled helplessly. He tucked her in and caressed her cheek gently. Xianxia was a light sleeper. His touch woke her up quickly. She opened her sleepy eyes and was surprised to see him. You're back. She rubbed her eyes and complained. What time is it? Why are you back so late? I had something to do at the company, so I delayed it. Have you had dinner? Xianxia asked with concern. His stomach was not very good, so she always paid attention to whether he ate 3 meals on time. Yes. Wuxia smiled. He sat on the side of the bed and smoothed her messy hair. You can't even take care of yourself, but you still have the time to worry about me? How could I? I'm clearly taking good care of myself. Xianxia got up slowly and hugged his waist. She hugged him quietly. She looked down and greedily pressed her face against his straight back. She suddenly felt a great sense of security. She liked to hug him quietly like this. This sense of security was as if she would not be afraid even if the sky fell down with him around. It's so good to have you. Every night when they hugged each other to sleep, she slept exceptionally well. She did not have any dreams and could always sleep until dawn. This feeling was very reassuring. Wuxia let her hug him quietly. After a busy day, he really enjoyed this peaceful time with her. All right, go to sleep. I'm going to wash up. Xianxia remained silent. She continued to hug him and refused to let go. Wuxia did not know what to do with her and remained motionless. You're not sleepy? I'm sleepy. Xianxia was lazy and unwilling to move. She placed all her weight on him. Her dependence on him was evident at this moment. If you're tired, then go to bed early. Xianxia replied with an obviously reluctant to let go. I want to hug you more. Wuxia could not help but laugh. He gently scratched the bridge of her nose. Little fool. He liked that she was so dependent on him. Moreover, he enjoyed this warm feeling. How great would it be if time could stop at this moment? Idiot. Get some rest. It's cold at night. If you catch a cold, you won't be able to walk the red carpet the day after tomorrow. Wuxia coaxed her to lie down. Xianxia nodded gently and lay on the bed like an obedient cat. He covered her with the blanket and kissed her forehead before going to wash up. When he returned to the room after a hot shower, the little fellow on the bed had already fallen asleep. The bedside lamp was still gently lit, reflecting on her beautiful face. Time was peaceful. Wuxia got into bed and hugged her in his arms. He also went to bed early. Song Family. Chapter 1947. She had not left her room for 3 days and 3 nights. Similarly, she was not done yet. Song Xianxia felt depressed. She did not know what was wrong with this little ancestor. She locked herself in her room in a fit of anger and refused to come out. She was throwing a tantrum again. He had just returned from the army when he mentioned this matter to his mother. He did not even need to think about it to know who had wronged her outside again. Song Xianxia asked, "Has she not stepped out of this door in the past 3 days?" "No." But she did open the door. When? The servant was trembling in fear at the side. Last night, when she knocked on the door, Xianxia opened it. However, as soon as she opened the door, her face turned horribly ugly. Just as she asked a question, Xianxia expressionlessly knocked over the food tray in her hand. She fell to the ground. The scalding hot soup splashed onto her hand and scalded a large portion of her skin. After applying the medicine and bandaging the wound, the servant felt unspeakable bitterness in her heart. In the entire Song family, Xianxia was undoubtedly the most difficult to serve. Her temper was the most arrogant and willful. She did everything based on her character. She often bullied the servants at home and gave them attitude. The servant looked at Song Xianxia and asked carefully, "Young master, how is it? Young miss hasn't eaten for 3 days and 3 nights. If this goes on, young miss's body will collapse." "Do I need you to remind me?" Song Xianxia sneered in annoyance. He raised his hand and knocked gently on the door. Then he said gently, "Enya, it's me. Can you open the door?" There was no movement from the door. Song Xianxia frowned suspiciously and knocked on the door for a long time. After calling out nicely for a long time, there was no movement or response. He asked suspiciously, "Are you sure Miss hasn't left the house? She's really inside." "Yes. Miss hasn't come out. We've been guarding, but she hasn't taken half a step out of the house." Song Xianxia was even more suspicious. Her expression changed. Just as she was feeling suspicious, she heard footsteps coming from the door. His face lit up, and the next second, the door was opened from the inside. However, when Xianxia appeared at the door, Song Xianxia was stunned. In just 3 days, Xianxia's entire state had changed. She hadn't eaten anything for 3 days, and her face was especially dispirited and ugly. She hadn't removed her makeup, but it was obvious that she had cried for a long time. Her eyes were red and swollen, and her face was also very swollen. However, because she had not rested well, her complexion was especially ugly. It was as if she was covered in a layer of dead ash, without any signs of life. "Enya? Oh, big brother, you're back." Xianxia stared at him blankly. Like a broken puppet, she was expressionless. Especially those eyes, there was no luster at all, they were dim and lifeless. "Enya, what happened to you?" Song Xianxia had never seen her in such a sorry state. "Hee, I'm fine." Her tone was flat and emotionless. He had thought that she would vent her anger on the servants like before, beating and scolding them to vent her anger, or perhaps she would rush into his arms and cry loudly. Alas, none of that happened. She only looked at him with an extremely terrifying and empty gaze, but it was as if she could see through his body and look elsewhere. Chapter 1948. Bring it in. Xianxia cut her off coldly and stepped aside to make way for her. Her calmness made Song Xianxia feel even more strange. He was even more worried. He would rather his sister cry and throw a tantrum and complain to him unreasonably than see his sister acting as if she had lost her mind. The servant did not think too much about it. As if she had been granted amnesty, she hurriedly lowered her head and respectfully brought the tray in. After the servant came out, Xianxia wanted to close the door. Song Xianxia quickly stopped her. "Wait." Xianxia's actions were sluggish for a moment. She turned her head and looked at him blankly. Her eyes were still empty and lifeless, making one's heart tremble. She was clearly still alive, but she gave off a feeling that she was already dead. "What's wrong with you?" Song Xianxia questioned sternly. "Look at yourself. How did you end up like this? Don't you think it's appropriate?" Xianxia only said calmly, "It's none of your business." These words were too cold. Song Yunxi was a little angry from embarrassment and reprimanded sternly. Get it straight. What do you mean by none of my business? I'm your brother. You're my most beloved sister. How can I not care about you? When Song Enya heard this, there was finally some expression on her face, but it was a hint of cold mockery. You make it sound so nice. Then tell me, how do you want to control me? These words undoubtedly stunned Song Yunxi and made her speechless. He did not know how to answer her sharp question. How can you control me? Song Enya smiled faintly, a trace of misery appearing on her haggard face. Brother, in your eyes, I must be very laughable, right? In everyone's eyes, I ignored ethics and fell in love with a man who shouldn't and can't love. Isn't that laughable? Song Enya showed great impatience. You don't have to answer because I know what you're thinking. So, you don't have to care about me. Just take care of yourself, okay? But, Song Yunxi still wanted to try. You don't have to care about me. You can't control me anyway. I'll make my own decisions for my own matters. It's not up to you to decide. As he spoke, he was about to close the door. Song Yunxi said angrily, How dare you? Song Enya's back paused. Song Yunxi gritted her teeth in anger. Enya, you've gone too far. Everyone was worried about you, but why did you end up like this for a man? Without him, would you have died? Yes. A light word fell into his ears, but it was exceptionally firm. She turned around and smiled sadly, but she was especially resolute. I will die. Song Yunxi was suddenly speechless. Song Enya smiled faintly and enunciated each word clearly. I love him more than my life. As soon as she finished speaking, she slammed the door shut and shut him outside. Song Yunxi said angrily, Fine. Don't worry about me, fine. Then I won't care about you anymore. He turned around and went downstairs. Jiang Qiming walked over and asked worriedly, How is it? Enya, why do you care about her? She's courting death and said that she doesn't want me to care. What can I say? Jiang Qiming was extremely worried. With a worried look, she sighed helplessly. This child is too willful. Why is her temper so bad? Chapter 1949. Are you blaming me? Jiang Qiming asked angrily. Why are you saying that too? Are you and Enya trying to make me angry? I wouldn't dare. Song Yunxi snorted, took a sip of tea, and sank into the sofa as if she had lost all her strength. The army is already mentally and physically exhausting, and I still have to coax my two precious sisters when I come back. Mom, don't spoil her too much. Enya has grown up and has her own opinions. Her own opinions? Jiang Qiming was speechless. What good opinions can this child have? She's always fooling around. That child, Xianxia, doesn't like her at all, yet she's still clinging to him. Isn't this a joke? Song Yunxi said, Uncle Mu is her uncle, and they are related by blood. No matter how much she likes him, there should be a limit. I think she's crazy and doesn't care about this basic concept of ethics at all. It's ridiculous that she wants to be with Uncle Mu. Actually, if two people are in love with each other, it's not impossible for them to be together. In many families, it's not a secret that cousins are connected by marriage, so it might not be a joke. Jiang Qiming paused for a moment before expressing her opinion. Actually, I'm quite fond of that child, too. Xianxia has extraordinary capabilities and is outstanding. No one in the Mu family can match up to his boldness and responsibility. That's why I don't object. The problem is that Xianxia only treats Enya as a sister. Feelings can't be forced. Moreover, he's especially stubborn. Mom, have you lost your mind too? If Dad hears this, he'll definitely scold you. Song Yunxi interrupted her. Your sister is insensible and fooling around, and you're blindly joining in? The world is going to be in chaos. Jiang Qiming was so angry that she kept quiet. Actually, she really liked Mu Xianxia. It was a pity that Mu Xianxia only treated Enya as a sister. She sighed and asked, Are you hungry? If you're hungry, I'll prepare something for you. Song Yunxi waved her hand. No need. I'm not hungry. I've already eaten. After a pause he added, Even if I haven't eaten yet, I'm full from being angered by Enya. Jiang Qiming did not know whether to laugh or cry. She sat beside him, still looking worried. Who does Enya take after her temper? Song Yunxi was obviously still angry. She said angrily, "She has been pampered since she was a child. How good can her temper be?" Jiang Qiming was furious. "She's your sister. As her brother, how can you say that about her?" "Okay, I won't say any more, okay? Look, I only said a few words to her and you're siding with her. It would be strange if he wasn't spoiled." Song Yunxi stood up impatiently and walked upstairs. Jiang Qiming asked, "Where are you going?" "Let's go to the study and read." "Go to sleep." Song Yunxi was in a bad mood and didn't want to talk to her anymore. Jiang Qiming shook her head but did not say anything else. Inside the room, she walked to the balcony and dialed a number. "How's the arrangement?" "Miss, don't worry. Everything has been arranged. The person has been brought out. It's all up to you. Keep an eye on her and don't let her run around." Song Enya smiled sinisterly and said casually, "I want her to be useful the day after tomorrow." Understood. Chapter 1950. On the opening day of the Golden Eagle Film Festival, Xianxia woke up in the wee hours of the morning. The Golden Eagle Film Festival would be held in Sea City, the fashion capital. It was only a 3-hour flight from the capital to Sea City. Hence, after Mu Yaja's morning meeting, he would return to Xianxia Walk to pick her up and fly to Sea City. Xianxia was waiting for him at home. She did not know why though, but she woke up early in the morning. After he left for the office, she lay in bed. She wanted to rest for a while more, but no matter how she tossed and turned, she could not fall asleep. Before this, if she was asked if she was nervous about participating in the film festival, she would have replied that she was not nervous. But now, she felt inexplicably uneasy. Everyone had high hopes for her. Actually, she did not have high hopes for herself. She was already satisfied that the film could break the box office record. As for the other awards, she did not have any hope at all. But everyone had high hopes for her to win an award. Lin Fengtian was even more certain that at least one Golden Eagle trophy for the Best Newcomer award was already in his hands. Xianxia thought that the awards had already been decided internally. But now that Lin Fengtian had made such a bold declaration, she felt even more uncertain about it. Qin Zhou also predicted that it wouldn't be a problem for her to win a newcomer's trophy. As for the Best Actor award, she probably had no hope. Xianxia was extremely nervous. It would be fine if she won the award. But if she did not, she would become a laughingstock. Qin Zhou laughed at her for thinking too much. Even if she did not win the award, he would not laugh at her. If she won the award, it would be expected of her. If she did not win the award, she could only say that the judges were blind. She had such a good performance, but she did not win the award. There must be something going on. After all, among all the characters in the running, Yin Xiaochuan was the only one who was better than most of the veteran actors in terms of box office results and audience love. She would definitely win the Best Newcomer award. His irrefutable words made Xianxia burst into laughter. How can it be so exaggerated? If there isn't, doesn't that mean there's something shady going on? Qin Zhou snorted coldly. If there's no newcomer award, just you wait. I'll carry a cannon to the organizing committee. Xianxia was even happier. Sure. I'll visit you often then. Looking at me? To visit a prisoner, Xianxia said matter-of-factly. Qin Zhou flew into a rage out of humiliation. How could I have accepted such a heartless person like you? Xianxia nestled under the blanket. After checking her Weibo account, she got out of bed. They were just waiting for Mu Yaja to finish his meeting so that they could set off together. Every morning, Dishing Financial Group would hold a board meeting. Since he was going to attend the film festival in City B, he arranged everything in advance. After attending the film festival in City B, he would stay in a hotel and return to Beijing the next day. By the time he finished the meeting, he had already booked the plane tickets in advance. After Mu Yaja returned to his office and arranged everything, he suddenly heard the sound of high heels hitting the ground outside the door. Hurried footsteps and the voice of his accompanying secretary repeatedly tried to stop her. "Mrs. Song, the president should still be in the meeting. Don't stop me. I have something important to talk to him about." Mrs. Song, go away." Chapter 1951. Shocked, Minyu turned to look at the door, only to see Jiang Qiming barging in. She scanned the office and quickly spotted Mu Yaja, who was sitting at his desk, and walked over anxiously. Yaja. Mu Yaja looked up and could not help frowning when he saw that it was Jiang Qiming. Sis, what's wrong? Why are you in such a hurry? Jiang Qiming couldn't help complaining. Yaja, why can't I reach you on the phone? Mu Yaja calmly replied, I was in a meeting and just got back to my office. Chairman Mu. His secretary, who was standing at the door, greeted him awkwardly. He glanced at Jiang Qiming, clearly confused. Minyu replied calmly, Go back to work. Yes, sir. The secretary nodded, closed the door and left. Mu Yaja asked, Auntie, what's the matter? Jiang Qiming was about to speak when she glanced at Minyu, who was standing at the side, with a conflicted expression. Mu Yaja also looked at him and signaled with his eyes. Minyu was someone who knew how to read people's expressions, so he immediately understood and respectfully retreated. After the door closed, Mu Yaja said, Speak. Yaja, something happened to Enya. Jiang Qiming looked at him with tears in her eyes, her voice trembling. Mu Yaja was stunned. He looked at her in shock and narrowed his eyes in confusion. Something happened? Yes. Jiang Qiming's throat was unusually hoarse from crying, and her eyes especially were red. It seemed that something had really happened. What happened? This morning, a servant went upstairs to knock on the door. There was no response, but she vaguely heard the sound of water flowing from the bedroom. The servant was worried that something had happened, so she immediately called Xianxia over. Xianxia was strong and kicked the door open. When he rushed in, he saw Enya lying in the bathtub. The bathtub was filled with water and was stained red with blood. Jiang Qiming's eyes were filled with fear as she recounted the incident, as if the scene was still vivid in her mind. What happened to her? Mu Yaja could vaguely make out some clues. Enya, she's too silly. She took things too hard. Where is she now? When Yunqi found out about the accident, he rushed her to the hospital. Fortunately, she was found in time and was saved. However, after this girl woke up, her emotions were unstable and she couldn't leave at all. Otherwise, who knew what kind of extreme behavior she would do again? Now, Yunqi is taking care of her in the hospital. I didn't dare to tell your uncle about this because I was afraid that he would be angry. Jiang Qiming said with lingering fear. She really did not dare to imagine if she would have lost her daughter forever if she had not discovered it in time. Mu Yaja's heart was slightly at ease when he heard from his mother that his niece had been rescued. That's good. Chapter 1952. Mu Yaja lowered his eyes and said calmly, I have something on in the afternoon. I'm very busy and can't leave. Jiang Qiming thought that he would agree immediately. After all, apart from Yunqi and her father, Mu Yaja was probably the man who doted on her the most since she was young. Jiang Qiming knew very well that Mu Yaja doted on her because she had a face that was almost carved out of the same mold as Jiang Yishan. Moreover, as she grew older, she became more and more similar to Jiang Yishan. Jiang Qiming was also surprised. Jiang Yishan was the person Mu Yaja missed the most. The year his mother passed away, Mu Yaja almost collapsed. At that time, it was little Enya who accompanied him through it. Mu Yaja placed all his grief for his mother on Song Enya. Therefore, he doted on her very much. No matter what harsh conditions she put forward, he would fulfill them one by one. Only Song Enya could be willful and arrogant in front of him, and Mu Yaja tolerated her. All of this only came to an end when Yun Shirshir appeared. Now, Mu Yaja was much colder to Song Enya. In the past, the Mu and Song families were very close. They moved around a lot. Now, with Mu Yaja's neglect of Song Enya, the relationship between the two families gradually fell to a freezing point. But now, Song Enya was lying on the bed. Although she had been saved, she was as if she was dead and did not say a word. No matter how Song Yunqi counseled, comforted, and made her happy, Song Enya remained indifferent. Song Enya was still indifferent. The only thing she said was, I want to see Brother Mu. That was all. Jiang Qiming could not bear to hear this. She left the hospital without Song Yunqi's knowledge and rushed all the way here. She did not care about her elegant demeanor and image. She only hoped that Mu Yaja would at least visit Enya at the hospital on account of the years of friendship between the two families. Yaja, I'm begging you, okay? You love Enya so much, but I don't know what happened to her. Maybe Enya did something she shouldn't have done. But she's still a child. She doesn't know any better and has made a mistake. Elder sister apologizes to you. Please forgive this child for my sake. Moreover, Enya also knows that she was wrong. She didn't have the face to see you, so she couldn't think straight and tried to kill herself. Just go to the hospital to see her and talk to her. At least, don't make her take things too hard. Auntie really can't lose her. Since she's already been saved, just take good care of her. There's no need for me to go. Mu Yaja still refused coldly. Jiang Qiming did not expect him to be so cold-hearted. Yaja, how can you say that? What did I say wrong? Mu Yaja raised his eyes and said matter-of-factly, she has an elder brother, a mother, and a father who dotes on her. Especially you, as her mother, should be the one by her side when something happens to her, not me. Yunqi too is your responsibility. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with me. You. How can you say that? Jiang Qiming widened her eyes in shock and was heartbroken. Yaja, how can you be so heartless? Even if Enya didn't do anything wrong, you shouldn't be so cruel, right? She's already in this state. What else do you want her to do? Chapter 1953. She was the one who cut her own wrist and hurt herself. If I remember correctly, she's already an adult. As an adult, shouldn't she be responsible for her own actions? Mu Yaja paused and a look of disgust appeared on his face. I have something on in the afternoon, so I can't visit her. But she only listens to you. Even if we want to counsel her, she won't listen at all. We really don't have a choice and don't know what to do. As the saying goes, the one who tied the bell should untie it. You're the knot in her heart. If you want to untie this knot in her heart, you have to do it yourself, right? Mu Yaja furrowed his brows impatiently and a sharp glint flashed across his eyes. I don't think I have this obligation. Yes. You don't have this obligation. But you don't have to be so heartless. Don't tell me you really don't have any feelings for Enya at all? What happened between the two of you? Aren't you and Enya very close? Why are we like strangers all of a sudden? Jiang Qiming was so anxious that she was at a loss. She looked at Mu Yaja with teary eyes and begged him over and over again. Mu Yaja's gaze gradually turned cold and it was obvious that he had lost all his patience. Jiang Qiming sized up his expression and gritted her teeth. She said harshly, do you know that Enya likes you? Yes. You know. Jiang Qiming turned pale with fright. Mu Yaja looked up and met her surprised gaze coldly. So, what do you want me to give her in return? Or do you want to be like her, disregarding human relationships and defying the ways of the world to be with her and give her back her passionate feelings? Jiang Qiming was extremely embarrassed by his words. She looked at him awkwardly and her face was flushed red. She suddenly asked again. Do you have feelings for Enya? Mu Yaja pondered for a moment and nodded. Yes. If you like Enya, it's not impossible for the two of you to be together. Look at Hua Chen International's young Master Wang. He's also married to his cousin and that. Sister, do you know what you're saying? Mu Yaja couldn't take it anymore and interrupted her. I know. If the two of you like each other, what's wrong with being together? At most, we won't announce your marriage to the public. The Mu and Song families have a relationship and this marriage is considered a family. Enough. Mu Yaja slammed the document in his hand on the table. His patience had clearly reached its limit. I've never said that I like her at all. Didn't you just saying? My feelings for her is just an older brother's love for his younger sister. But now, this feeling had more or less been obliterated. So, don't mention this matter again in the future. It makes me feel disgusted. After he finished speaking, Jiang Qiming, who followed him, Jiang. No matter what, I promise you that I won't mention this matter again. But can you agree to this condition of mine? Go to the hospital to visit Enya and at least convince her not to let her do stupid things again, okay? Mu Yaja remained indifferent. Jiang Qiming was so anxious that she broke down. Yaja, do you want me to kneel on the ground and beg you? Chapter 1954. She had no other choice but to beg him. Alas, Mu Yaja did not care about her humble request at all. That's enough. You can leave now. Mu Yaja was annoyed beyond words. Just as he opened the door, he heard a thud behind him. His heart skipped a beat, and he turned around to see Jiang Qiming kneeling on the ground with tears streaming down her cheeks. Mu Yaja was furious. "What are you doing? I'm begging you. I'm begging you. I won't force you no matter what you do in the future. But at least, I'm begging you to save Enya this time." At this moment, Jiang Qiming no longer had the elegance of a noblewoman. Her luxurious clothes couldn't hide her disheveled and humble appearance at this moment. She was no longer the glamorous mayor's wife. At this moment, she was just a pitiful and sad mother. She had spoiled her daughter to such an arrogant and willful character. However, she had spoiled her daughter so much, but in the end, she still had to ask others to save her daughter's will to live. Jiang Qiming's face was full of worry, and her eyes were filled with desolate tears. Mu Yaja said coldly, "Don't you think you look terrible right now? Get up." "I won't get up if you don't promise me." She was sad and stubborn. "If you don't promise me, I'll kneel until you do." "Are you threatening me?" A sharp glint flashed across Mu Yaja's eyes. "Yes." Jiang Qiming did not shy away. "Only this time. Please allow me to threaten you once." Mu Yaja slowly narrowed his eyes. Because of his anger, the veins on the back of his hands were clearly visible. By noon, Xianxia had already packed her luggage. She entrusted the two children to Yun Yeqing and the nanny. She was only relieved after giving them some instructions. Yu nagged as she helped her tidy up her clothes. "Mommy, you're so naggy. Xiaoyichen and I can take care of ourselves. You don't have to worry. Just worry about whether you can win the award." Xiaoyichen raised his eyebrows and teased. "Exactly. Mommy is not as good at taking care of people as you, so it doesn't make a difference whether Mommy is at home or not." Xianxia seemed to hear the sound of her heart breaking. Was Xiaoyichen mocking her? "Why?" Yu smiled and said, "I'm happy that Mommy is away on a business trip. When Mommy isn't around, I just have to take good care of Xiaoyichen. If Mommy were here, I would have more to worry about." At this moment, Xiaoxia's heart seemed to shatter into countless pieces. She clutched her chest, feeling as if her heart had been pierced by 10,000 arrows. "Why, baby, do you have to hurt Mommy like this?" Yu couldn't be bothered with her sadness. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw Xiaoyichen folding the gown and immediately stopped her. "Wait. If you do this, the gown will wrinkle." Xiaoyichen looked up blankly and stopped what he was doing. It turned out that he wanted to fold the gown into a square like any other piece of clothing. However, this way the gown would wrinkle. "What should I do then?" "Let me do it." "Oh, then this gown needs to be ironed." "Let me do it." Yu was as busy as a nanny, running around in circles. Xianxia wanted to help, but Yu immediately chased her away. "Both of you, go sit on the sofa. Don't be a hindrance." Chapter 1955. Half a minute later, Xianxia obediently sat on the sofa with Xiaoyichen in her arms. Yu busied himself with packing. In less than 10 minutes, all the luggage was packed. Phew! Yu wiped the sweat off his forehead with a handkerchief. "It's done." He looked up and saw Xiaoxia's starry eyes and Xiaoyichen's admiring expression. His lips twitched as he looked at them speechlessly. "What are you doing?" "Yu, you're so virtuous. Whoever marries you in the future will be blessed." Xianxia was touched that she had raised such a perfect son. Xiaoyichen looked at him with admiration. "Yu, if I were a young girl, I'd definitely chase after you to be my wife." "Get lost." Yu looked at him with disdain. "Whoever marries you will be unlucky." "Why?" Xiaoyichen cried out in grievance. "Am I not outstanding?" "You're too outstanding, so I'm not worthy of you." While the three of them were bickering, the doorbell suddenly rang. "Daddy is back." Xiaoyichen raised his eyebrows in excitement. Yu found it strange. He walked to the door and opened it while muttering, "Daddy didn't bring the key?" Just as he opened the door, he saw Qianzhou standing outside. Seeing the door open, he lowered his head and was surprised to see a little lad standing at the doorway. The lad sized him up with his watery eyes. "Hello, little kid." Qianzhou greeted him with a smile. He was surprised at first, but it took him a while to realize that this child, who looked so much like Mui Chen, was probably the boss's son, Yun Tianyu. Although he had never seen him before, he could deduce his identity. Mui Chen walked to the door and sized him up curiously. He did not know Qin Zhou, but the latter knew him. "Who are you?" Mu Yichen immediately became vigilant and asked suspiciously. He completely regarded Qin Zhou as a strange uncle with bad intentions and was very vigilant. Qin Zhou chuckled. "I'm looking for your mommy." "Oh, you must be mommy's manager." Yu looked him up and down and concluded. Qin Zhou was surprised. "Ha! How do you know?" "I recognize your voice." When Qin Zhou called Xianxia to remind her about her schedule, Yu would sometimes be by her side. He was very sensitive to sounds. Basically, he would never forget what he heard. Therefore, as soon as Qin Zhou spoke, he guessed his identity. "Little kid, you're so smart." Yu opened the door and invited him in. Xianxia was surprised to see him. "Why are you here?" "I'm here on my boss's orders to bring you to Sea City." "Oh," Xianxia replied and nodded at first. Suddenly, she reacted and asked quizzically, "Where is he? Is he busy?" The flight should be booked. It's at 1 p.m. Is he going directly to the airport?" With that, Xianxia got up from the sofa and walked toward him. Qin Zhou suddenly hesitated. "Boss, can't go to Sea City." As he spoke, he observed her expression and appeared to be very cautious. Xianxia was stunned. "He can't go to Sea City? Why?" "Maybe he has something to do. I was about to board the plane, but he called and asked me to bring you to Sea City, so I hurried over." Chapter 1956. What kind of reason was that? Back then, she had been worried that Mu Yaja would be too busy to make time, so she had repeatedly asked him about it. However, he had vowed that nothing was more important than walking the red carpet with her. He had said such nice words, but now he was breaking his promise. What was so important about it? He had always been a man of his word. Xianxia was stunned for a moment, and then her eyes turned cold. Didn't he promise to go to the film festival with me in Sea City? Why is he suddenly not going? Maybe he has something important to do. Qin Zhou did not understand the situation, but Dishing Financial Group had a lot of work to do. It was understandable that Mu Yaja could not go at the last minute. Xianxia was still in disbelief and asked, "What is he busy with?" "He didn't say." "He didn't say." Xianxia, who had been elated, felt as if a basin of cold water had been poured over her head. She suddenly felt wronged. They had promised each other something, but he had decided not to go just like that. Did he even consider her feelings? Didn't he say that he would walk the red carpet with her? If he was not going, whose arm should she hold to attend the film festival? Qin Zhou seemed to have seen through her concerns and said mildly, "I'll walk the red carpet with you at the film festival." Xianxia did not say anything when she heard that. She returned to the sofa in a huff and lowered her head, letting her hair fall to cover her disappointed expression. Yu and Xianxia looked at each other and frowned at the same time. They did not know what had happened. Seeing this, Qin Zhou was a little embarrassed. He said half-jokingly, "Why? You don't want me to walk the red carpet with you?" Xianxia lowered her head even more. She did not say anything, but it was obvious that Mu Yaja breaking his promise made her very disappointed. Qin Zhou walked over, sat down beside her, and patted her shoulder gently. "Although I don't know what's holding you up, Dishing Financial Group has a lot of work to do. It's reasonable that you can't leave." "Liar." Xianxia suddenly spat out 2 words expressionlessly. Her tone was desolate, and her voice was hoarse from holding back her tears. "Liar. Qin Zhou. You made a promise, but you went back on your words." "Liar. Sure. If he's not going, I'm not going either." Xianxia said a little angrily, "Go ahead." Sure. Don't be willful. It doesn't matter if the boss doesn't go, but if you don't go and don't go on stage during the award ceremony, people will inevitably say that you're acting like a big shot. Doesn't matter. She didn't care about any awards, nor did she care about the Best Newcomer Award or the Best Actress Award. She was looking forward to being able to witness it with him. But without him, everything seemed to have lost its meaning. Xianxia shrunk her shoulders even more. She wanted to cry, but because Yu and Xianxia were present, she tried her best to hold back her tears. Qin Zhou did not know how to comfort her. He had thought that if the boss did not go, he could at most explain and she would just laugh it off. He did not expect her to care so much about this matter. Sure. Don't be sad. You missed the film festival this time, but there's always next time. You just debuted and this is your first film festival. There will be many more in the future as long as you want. Chapter 1957. Yu Yu's heart ached as he walked over. He slowly squatted down in front of Xianxia and gently placed his little hand on the back of her hand. Mommy, don't be sad. Daddy must have had something important to attend to, so he had no choice but to stand you up. Mommy has always been generous. You won't be angry because of this, right? Xianxia pursed her lips. It would have been better if Yu hadn't consoled her. Now that he had, she was affected and a few drops of tears rolled down her cheeks. There was a loud smack. The tears fell onto the back of Yu's hand. Yu's gaze fell on the tears that had landed on the back of his hand. His gaze instantly sharpened. God knew that at this moment, he wished he could tear Daddy apart with his bare hands. He had promised Mommy that he would walk the red carpet with her, but he had stood her up. What the hell was going on? He had dropped the ball. He was angry. But even if he was angry, he couldn't complain about Daddy in front of Mommy at this time. As a son, he had to reconcile the relationship between Daddy and Mommy. Hence he smiled and teased Xianxia. Mommy, don't be sad. If you're so sad, Yu will be heartbroken. When Xianxia heard this, he was surprised. How could an ordinary 7-year-old child say such words with such high EQ? An ordinary child would definitely be hugging his mother helplessly and at a loss at this moment. However, this child was full of spirit. He even knew how to comfort an adult. He wasn't simple. It was obvious that he was a very intelligent child. Xianxia also ran over and hugged her tenderly. Mommy, don't be sad. If you don't mind, Xianxia can walk the red carpet with you, okay? Yu pushed him away in disdain. Go away. Even if I have to walk the red carpet with Mommy, it won't be your turn. It won't be your turn either. You're so short. Mommy has to bend down to hold your hand. That won't be elegant. Xianxia was amused by the two children's banter. Her tears turned into laughter, and she couldn't help but say, all right. You too, stop fooling around. Yu and Xianxia looked at her. Seeing that she was finally smiling, they felt relieved. Xianxia also said, the two of them are really sensible. Sure. Don't be angry. Perhaps the boss really has something urgent to deal with. Don't complain too much. Just come back and ask him clearly. At most, let him kneel on the washboard for a night. Just take it as venting your anger. How would I dare? Xianxia said grumpily. However, Xianxia laughed and said, if you don't dare, no one in the world would dare to make the boss kneel on a washboard. Xianxia curled her lips into a smile. The clouds in her heart were dispelled, and she finally felt a little better. Okay, I got it. Maybe he really has something important to do. Forget it, I won't force him. She stood up and smiled at Xianxia. Wait for me. I'll pack up and go to the airport with you. Okay, be good. Go ahead. Xianxia immediately went to her room. After she entered the room, Yu asked him quizzically, you really don't know why Daddy is late for the film festival? Xianxia was stunned for a moment. He shook his head blankly. You're not allowed to hide anything from me. No, little master. I really don't know what the boss is doing. He didn't tell me. To Wuxia, he was just a small fry. How could he pry into the boss's affairs? Xianxia broke out in a cold sweat. This child was unusually sharp. He even knew how to interrogate people. Yu nodded and dispelled his doubts. He said to him, Daddy won't be around for the next 2 days. Please take care of Mommy. Chapter 1958. After Xianxia finished packing, she walked out. Yu and Xianxia walked her to the door. Xianxia ordered someone to open the trunk and Xianxia rushed to stuff Xianxia's luggage into the trunk. Xianxia was dumbfounded. He stood rooted to the ground and sighed. Is this really a 7-year-old child? He's as strong as a bull. Ha ha ha. Yu laughed out loud. Wuxia is a little black bull. Wuxia was speechless. What do you mean by black bull? I'm not a black bull. I'm clearly very fair. Who's talking about your skin color? I'm talking about your strength. It's like a little black bull, Yu ridiculed. Wuxia glared at him helplessly. He felt like he was going to be covered in bruises. A little black bull was so ugly. Why did he compare him to a little black bull? Mu Yichen felt very hurt. Qin Zhou couldn't help but laugh out loud. These two children were really too interesting. Especially Yu, the little devil. Yun Shishir said helplessly, Yu, you always bully Xiao Yichen because you're smart. Don't think that you can bully brother just because you have a glib tongue. Mu Yichen felt even more hurt. He clutched his chest and looked helplessly at Yun Shishir. Was Mommy insinuating that she was stupid? She felt like her heart was being stabbed again. Xiao Yichen clutched his chest and looked pitifully at Yun Shishir. It would have been better if she hadn't said anything. The moment she did, he felt like his heart was being stabbed again. Yun Shishir also realized that she had unintentionally said something very cruel. She hurriedly apologized. Xiao Yichen, I'm sorry. Mommy didn't mean it that way. I just wanted you to not bully you. Mommy is bullying me. Xiao Yichen, ignore Mommy. Mu Yichen stood at the side with tears in his eyes. He tugged at his sleeves and looked like he was about to cry but had no tears. Yun Shishir's heart softened when she saw him. She hurried over and hugged Mu Yichen in her arms. Mommy was wrong. Xiao Yichen, don't be angry. Otherwise, Mommy won't feel at ease before boarding the plane. Mommy can only forgive Mommy if I kiss her. Mu Yichen pouted. Yu gritted her teeth. This guy learns very quickly. She had mastered the skill of acting coquettishly that he was so proud of. This was a trick that he was used to, and it worked on his mother every time. Yet he had secretly learned it. Yun Shishir cupped Xiao Yichen's chubby little face and gently kissed his tender cheeks. She hurriedly apologized. Xiao Yichen, forgive Mommy. Be good and wait for Mommy to come back, okay? Okay. Then Mommy must bring home a trophy. Xiao Yichen encouraged her. Yun Shishir nodded and instantly felt smug. Okay. Mommy will work hard. I'll bring home a trophy. On the way back, Yun Shishir quietly looked out of the window. The traffic was congested, and her ears were filled with the sound of anxious horns. It was annoying. The traffic in the city seemed to be especially congested. It was noon, but the traffic was still so congested that it made her feel frustrated. Qin Zhou sat beside her and chatted with a bunch of bad friends in the WeChat group. Occasionally, he would look up and chat with her. The atmosphere was calm. Yun Shishir still felt a little uneasy. Women were very sensitive and tended to overthink things. Her sixth sense told her that Mu Yaja must have missed the appointment because something had happened. Most importantly, if something had happened, he should have at least informed her. Chapter 1959. However, he did not. Yun Shishir could not help but let her imagination run wild. The more she thought about it, the more uneasy she felt. She decided to give Mu Yaja a call when they arrived at the airport and before boarding the plane to ask about the situation. At the hospital, Jiang Qiming led Mu Yaja into the ward. As soon as they pushed the door open, they saw Song Yunqi silently guarding by the bed. The beeping sound of the medical machine was endless. Song Enya was lying quietly on the bed with a respirator on. Her eyes were closed as if she was still unconscious. 2 blood bags hung by the bed, continuously transfusing blood into her body. Even though she was discovered in time, she still lost too much blood and needed an emergency blood transfusion. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Song Yunqi turned her head abruptly and saw Jiang Qiming walking in. Behind her, Mu Yaja slowly stepped through the door. The moment his tall figure appeared in the ward, it suddenly felt that the huge ward had become narrow. He stood there expressionlessly. The cold and domineering aura around him instantly froze the air in the ward. Mu Yaja's gaze fell on the person lying quietly on the bed, and his face suddenly darkened. He thought that Song Enya was up to something again. He did not expect that something would really happen. Uncle. Mu. Song Yunqi was stunned for a moment. She looked at the person who had suddenly appeared and felt a little uneasy. What he did not know was that, while she was out, she had actually gone to Dishing Financial Group to invite Mu Yaja over. Mom, you. Jiang Qiming and Song Yunqi looked at each other and pursed their lips. Yaja is worried about Enya, so he came over to see her. Song Yunqi immediately stood up and left the seat beside the bed for him. Mu Yaja waved his hand coldly and stood by the bed with no intention of sitting down. He glanced at Song Enya and saw that her complexion was very poor. Her skin was pale, obviously a symptom of excessive blood loss. He then looked at her cracked and dry lips and frowned. How is he? Song Yunqi replied, he has just been rescued, but his condition is not very good. He is receiving a blood transfusion now. After the blood transfusion, we will see how he is. When did this happen? Mu Yaja raised his eyebrows and asked. It happened this morning. Song Yunqi paused and added, when the maid knocked on the door this morning, there was no response. She only heard the loud sound of water flowing from the room. She was worried and called me. I kicked the door open and saw Enya lying in the bathtub with her clothes on. The water in the bathtub was dyed red with blood. Mu Yaja glanced at his niece's wrist. At this moment, her injured wrist was already wrapped in gauze. However, the wound was too deep. Song Enya steeled her heart and made a deep cut. Although the wound had been bandaged, blood still seeped out, and it was extremely glaring. He had already been rescued. However, the scar on his wrist would leave a deep mark no matter what. Song Yunqi felt sorry for her and hated her for being so disappointing. Why did she have to take her life so lightly? Jiang Qiming walked over and pulled Song Yunqi's hand. She said slowly, Yunqi, I have something to ask you. Come with me outside the door. I still want to watch over my sister. I'm afraid that she will cry and throw a tantrum when she wakes up. Song Yunqi was worried. Chapter 1960. Song Enya had woken up once before, but when she opened her eyes and found herself in the hospital, she cried and threw a tantrum. She even almost pulled out the drip. Song Yunqi was strong and managed to control her. After a few coaxing words, she calmed down and fell asleep again. Her tantrum had really scared him out of his wits. Jiang Qiming rebuked, with Yaja here, even if Enya wakes up, he can take good care of her. Be good. With that, Jiang Qiming walked over. Song Yunqi immediately understood what she meant and walked over, closing the door behind her. Mu Yaja frowned slightly. He and Song Enya were the only ones left in the ward. Initially, his intention was to come over and take a look. If she was fine, he wanted to leave. However, now that Jiang Qiming and Song Yunqi had left, he could not leave. Mu Yaja felt annoyed and slowly sat down by the bed. His gaze fell on Song Enya's extremely pale face and his eyes darkened slightly. He seemed to have seen Jiang Yishan lying on the hospital bed, on the verge of death. At this moment, Song Enya's haggard face was too similar to Jiang Yishan's, so much so that he could not help but feel pity for her. However, he was only in a trance for a moment before he immediately woke up. The person in front of him was Song Enya, not his mother. His mother had passed away. At this thought, Mu Yaja closed his eyes in exhaustion. His mother's death was his most painful nightmare. Back then, if not for Enya accompanying him all the time, he would not have been able to get through it. He had placed all his longing for his mother on her. However, although this girl was arrogant and willful when she was a young girl, she was also an innocent young lady. How did she become like this now? This made him extremely disgusted. What did she mean by this? Cutting her wrists? Suicide? Was she planning to use a method that was close to self-harm to punish him for being heartless and provoke him? Or was she delusional enough to use this method to gain his sympathy? Did she think that this would make him feel guilty? Amid Mu Yaja's complicated thoughts, Song Enya slowly opened her eyes and woke up. What entered his sight was a snow-white ceiling. The unique smell of disinfectant in the hospital was pungent. Out of the corner of her eye, she suddenly caught a glimpse of a figure. She abruptly turned her head and looked at the man sitting quietly by the bed without saying a word. A gratified smile suddenly appeared on her face. Brother Mu, you're here? Yes. Mu Yaja said indifferently, you're still weak. Don't talk too much. He didn't want to hear her voice either. Song Enya smiled bleakly and pursed her lips. Just as she was about to speak, Mu Yaja frowned and asked coldly, what's your intention for inviting me here? What do you mean? Enya, is this also one of your methods? Mu Yaja kicked her coldly and said almost cruelly, using such a self-harming method to gain my sympathy and pity, is this your ambition? I'm not. She looked panicked and shook her head hurriedly. No. Mu Yaja suddenly raised his voice. Then, who are you putting on a show for? His voice was not loud, but every word that fell into her ears was as cruel as a knife. Chapter 1961. So, are you here to denounce me? Song Enya felt a sharp pain in her heart. Biting her lips tightly, she looked miserable. I didn't put on a show for you. Don't say that. You didn't have to come. I didn't ask you to, right? Wuxia sneered. It's good that you didn't put on a show. Otherwise, I'd think that you're cheap. Cheap. Xianxia smiled sadly as she felt her heart turn cold all of a sudden. Every word he said was 10,000 times crueler than the physical pain she was going through. Even when she was on the brink of death, she had never shed a tear in despair. However, at this moment, his heartless words made her bite her lower lip. 2 streams of tears rolled down her cheeks and slid into her mouth. Brother Mu, how can you be so cruel to me? What did I do wrong for you to hurt me with such cruel words? Hurt her? Did he hurt her? She was clearly the one who belittled and hurt him. He had just taken a look at her wound and carefully examined it. Although the wound was deep, it was not the most fatal part. At least, she had left some leeway. Even if she lost blood for a long time, it was not fatal. If she had cut her aorta, she would have lost her life in less than an hour. Since she had deliberately left some leeway, there was no need to think about what her motive was. When he entered the ward, at first glance, he thought that she had really taken it too hard. However, when he calmed down and thought about it carefully, he felt even more disappointed. She actually used such methods to put on a show for him. Was she trying to take pity on him? Born in a wealthy family, he had seen many fights for favor and all kinds of underhanded methods. Just the few mistresses in the Mu family were already used to her tricks. Did she think that he could not tell? Unreasonable pestering. He sneered coldly and spat out these 4 words. Unreasonable pestering. Xianxia widened her eyes in shock. She could no longer hold back the tears in her eyes. They rolled down her cheeks and dripped onto the white bedsheets. She clutched the bedsheets tightly. She was full of grievances but did not know how to vent them. Yes. She was deliberately torturing herself, using self-mutilation, hoping to attract his attention even if it was just a glance. Yes. She was pestering him endlessly, trying to win his heart. But why did he say that she was such a shameless person? Was it wrong to love someone? You didn't treat me like this before. Why? Why did you treat me so cruelly? It's not fair. Xianxia broke down and wept bitterly. It was unfair. What right did Xianxia have to have everything he had? But even if she didn't ask for any status and only wanted to receive 1/3 of the love he gave Xianxia, such a small ambition couldn't be satisfied. Enough. Wuxia coldly tugged at the corner of his lips, showing his impatience. Enya, I'm warning you for the last time. I'm very busy and don't have the time to play house with you. With that, he stood up and prepared to leave. Xianxia was so flustered that she hurled a cup at him. Crash! A sound was heard. The cup flew over his shoulder, hit the door, and fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. Just like her broken heart at this moment. Chapter 1962. Wuxia's back stiffened for a moment. He stood rooted to the ground for a moment, seemingly unmoved by her urging him to stay. This time, however, he took another step forward without hesitation. Xianxia was thoroughly flustered. She did not know where she got the courage from, but in a fit of anger, she ruthlessly pulled out the blood drip, threw off the blanket, rolled off the bed, and rushed toward him barefooted. Brother Mu! Xianxia hugged him tightly from behind, her arms tightly entwined around his waist. Let go! I won't let go! Wuxia was thoroughly enraged. He flung her arms away and turned around. However, the next second, as if she had gone crazy, she suddenly hugged his shoulders, stood on her tiptoes, and kissed his thin lips fiercely. Startled, he hurriedly tried to avoid her, but it was too late. Xianxia's weathered and dry lips kissed the side of his lips. She attacked him like a madwoman, kissing him on the lips and biting him hard. This bite caused his brain to freeze for a second. By the time he reacted, his hands had already moved to push her away forcefully. Are you crazy? Xianxia was caught off guard. Losing her balance, she fell backward and landed heavily on the ground. She stared fixedly at him. Because she had bitten down hard just now, her pale lips were stained with scarlet blood. At a glance, she looked as demonic as a vampire. Xianxia smiled foolishly. The tip of her tongue gently traced the traces of blood on her lips. The ambition in her eyes was not concealed at all. Wuxia could not calm his anger. His expression was stiff and cold. He raised his hand and swiped his finger across his thin lips, only to come in contact with a bloody taste. He wiped it away harshly and glared at her. Are you crazy? Yes, I am crazy. But you're the one who drove me crazy. Brother Mu, are you satisfied now? Are you satisfied now that I've gone crazy for you and am willing to do anything for you? Mu Yaja looked at her as if he was looking at a hopeless patient. The disgust in his eyes was undisguised. You're hopeless. Yes. I am incurable. I like you, and because I like you I want to get you. Is that wrong? Xianxia yelled recklessly as if she had lost her mind and started spouting nonsense. But I'm not greedy anymore. I'm not asking for anything. I'm not greedy for more. I just hope that we can go back to how we used to be. That's enough, okay? What? Xianxia smiled. The innocent look on her face was distorted by the bloodstains on her lips. You're still my brother Mu. I want to hear you call me Enya, gently like before, and dote on me without restraint. I won't have any wishful thinking about you anymore, but I hope that we can go back to how we used to be, okay? Mu Yaja was silent for a while before he sneered. We can't go back. The smile on Xianxia's face froze. Why? She couldn't believe it and asked hysterically, why? How overboard is my request that you can't even tolerate it? Jiang Qiming was talking to Xianxia at the door when she heard the commotion from the ward. Worried, she barged in. Chapter 1963. Xianxia watched him leave in a daze. Looking at his cold and resolute back view, she broke down and burst into tears. Xianxia felt as if a knife was being twisted in her heart. She walked over, picked her up, and placed her on the bed. When she looked down and saw the back of her hand dripping with blood, she was shocked. What's wrong with you? Jiang Qiming immediately said. She probably pulled out the 4 drip. I'll call the nurse over and redo it. You're not allowed to go. Xianxia threw a tantrum. Don't bother about me, okay? Don't mess around. Xianxia scolded her with a tough attitude. However, this tough attitude undoubtedly agitated her even more. Xianxia pushed him away and covered her face with a blanket, letting herself sob uncontrollably. Don't bother about me. Let's go, let's all go. Let me fend for myself. When Xianxia heard this, she scolded angrily. What nonsense are you talking about? How can we not care about you? Let you fend for yourself. What's wrong with you? Why are you torturing yourself for a man? Jiang Qiming's heart ached. She went forward and tugged at Xianxia's sleeve, telling her to stop talking. Xianxia flung her hand away. Mom, why are you still protecting her at this point? Your sister is already very upset. Don't agitate her anymore. Jiang Qiming's heart ached. Agitate? I just want to scold her. It's best if I scold her until she wakes up. Look at her now, what has she become? She committed suicide by slitting her wrists. If word gets out, won't she become a laughingstock? She's the mayor's daughter, yet she's willing to disregard ethics and morals for a man. I feel embarrassed for her. Xianxia suddenly raised her head and confronted him. Xianxia, have you had enough? Do I need you to care about me? If you think I'm embarrassing, then don't care about me. You! Xianxia pointed at her angrily. However, how could Xianxia be willing to lower her head? She raised her head high and glared at him. Xianxia was so angry that she swung her hand and walked to the side. Her anger could not be appeased. How many times have I told you that it's impossible between you and Uncle Mu? It's not like I haven't tried to persuade you to give up. But now that things have turned out this way, the friendship between the Mu and Song families is probably going to be severed. As Xianxia spoke, she turned around and glared at her. Enya, you're not young anymore. You're not a 7 or 8-year-old child anymore. You shouldn't be so willful. I don't care. Even if I can't have him, I won't let anyone touch him. At worst, I won't be able to get anything. Xianxia said willfully. Xianxia was so angry that she choked and had nothing to say. If not for Jiang Qiming's protection, he would have slapped her long ago. This disappointing sister of his, how could she pester him endlessly? No wonder Uncle Mu left so angrily. If it were any other man, they would think that such a woman was unreasonable. Jiang Qiming stood at the side, feeling helpless. Seeing her daughter, whom she doted on, in such a sorry state, she felt heartache and hated her for being so disappointing. At least her husband did not know about this. Otherwise, Song Enya would definitely be grounded. Song Yunxi shook her head, clearly disappointed in her sister. Back then, it was the whole family who doted on you and spoiled you that caused you to have such a temper. It's too late for me to regret it now. When Song Enya was young,